The night Eliza Mercer lost everything, she woke up in a stranger's bed wearing only a man's shirt, and she couldn't remember how she got there. The powerful executive who controlled boardrooms and million-dollar deals now stood trembling in an unfamiliar apartment, staring at the one man who could destroy her reputation with a single word. Her quiet, unassuming employee, Noah Carter. But this wasn't a scandal. This was something far more dangerous. It was the beginning of everything she never knew she needed. Stay with me until the end of this story, and don't forget to like and comment with your city so I can see how far this journey travels. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The smell hit Eliza first, coffee, rich and dark, threading through the fog of her consciousness like a lifeline she didn't know she needed. Her eyelids felt weighted, reluctant, as if opening them would confirm something she wasn't ready to face. But consciousness was merciless, dragging her up from the depths whether she wanted it or not. When her eyes finally cracked open, the panic arrived all at once. Wrong ceiling, wrong light, wrong everything. Eliza's breath caught in her throat, sharp and painful. The ceiling above her wasn't the vaulted expanse of her penthouse bedroom with its custom lighting and pristine white paint. This ceiling was lower, softer somehow, with a small water stain in the corner that looked like a map of some forgotten country. The morning light filtering through simple cotton curtains was gentle, almost apologetic, nothing like the harsh Manhattan sunlight that usually sliced through her floor-to-ceiling windows. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she pushed herself upright, and that's when she noticed what she was wearing. A man's button-down shirt, white. Worn soft from too many washings. The sleeves swallowed her hands, and the hem barely skimmed the middle of her thighs. Beneath it, she wore her underwear, thank God. But her designer suit, her silk blouse, her Italian leather heels were nowhere to be seen. "What the hell?" she whispered, her voice cracking like old paint. The room spun slightly as she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Not her bed. Definitely not her bed. This mattress was firmer. The sheets a simple navy blue instead of her usual Egyptian cotton in cream. A small dresser stood against one wall, topped with a lamp shaped like a rocket ship and a framed photo of... Eliza squinted at the picture, her brain struggling to process through the pounding in her skull. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, gap-toothed smile, pigtails askew, holding a soccer trophy almost as big as she was. The headache intensified, a vicious throb behind her eyes that made her want to lie back down and surrender to the darkness. But she couldn't. She had to figure out where she was, how she'd gotten here, and, most urgently, whose shirt she was wearing. Fragments of memory flickered like a damaged film reel. The conference room. The executive board's faces, stone cold and final. Martha Chen's voice, crisp and businesslike as she delivered the words that shattered 15 years of Eliza's life into irreparable pieces. "We're restructuring the department. Your position has been eliminated. Effective immediately." After that, darkness. No, not darkness. A bar. She remembered the bartender's sympathetic eyes as she ordered her third, or was it fourth, martini. The burn of vodka that didn't quite mask the burn of humiliation. The rain starting as she stumbled to her car, because of course it rained, because the universe apparently believed in pathetic fallacy. And then, nothing. A black hole where her memory should be. Footsteps echoed in the hallway beyond the closed door, and Eliza's entire body went rigid. Slow, measured steps. A man's gait, she thought, heavier than a woman's would be. They paused outside the door, and Eliza found herself holding her breath, every muscle tensed like a prey animal sensing a predator. The doorknob turned. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, to reclaim some semblance of the control that had defined her entire adult life. But her voice had abandoned her, trapped somewhere between her racing heart and her paralyzed lungs. The door opened slowly, almost cautiously, and a man stepped into the frame. Eliza's brain short-circuited. Noah? Noah Carter stood in the doorway of his own guest room, holding a mug of coffee like a peace offering, looking exactly as he always did at the office. Calm, unruffled, slightly rumpled in that way that suggested he'd been awake for hours but hadn't quite gotten around to caring about his appearance. Jeans, a faded NYU sweatshirt, bare feet. His dark hair stuck up on one side, and there was a smudge of what looked like pancake batter on his jaw. He looked so profoundly, impossibly normal that it made everything else seem even more surreal. "You're awake," he said quietly, his voice carrying that same gentle steadiness he used in editorial meetings when tensions ran high. "That's good. How's your head?" Eliza's hand flew to her temple, where the headache pulsed like a second heartbeat. "Noah, what the hell is going on? Where am I?" "You're in my apartment," he said, stepping into the room but maintaining a careful distance, as if approaching a spooked horse. "In Brooklyn. Sunset Park. You've been here since around 11 last night." "Brooklyn?" The word came out strangled. Eliza Mercer didn't do Brooklyn. She barely did anywhere outside of Midtown Manhattan. "Why am I in Brooklyn? Why am I in your—" She gestured helplessly at the shirt, at the room, at the entire impossible situation. Noah set the coffee mug on the dresser next to the rocket lamp, his movements deliberate and slow. "I found you passed out in your car. It was parked outside my building, in the rain. You were not in good shape, Eliza. I couldn't just leave you there." The words landed like physical blows. Passed out. In her car. Outside his building. "I don't—" Eliza pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to squeeze out the memory, trying to make sense of any of this. "I don't remember driving to Brooklyn. I don't remember— Why would I drive to Brooklyn?" "I don't know," Noah said, honestly. "But you did. And when I found you, you were unconscious and soaking wet. I brought you inside, got you into dry clothes." He paused, a faint flush creeping up his neck. "You were hypothermic, Eliza. Your lips were blue. I wasn't going to let you freeze to death in designer wool." Eliza's hands dropped from her face, and she stared at him with something between horror and disbelief. "You undressed me?" "I got you out of wet clothes and into dry ones," Noah corrected, his voice steady but firm. "With my eyes mostly closed and a lot of awkward maneuvering. You're wearing my shirt and your own underwear, which I didn't touch. I put you in the guest room, made sure you were breathing okay, and checked on you every couple of hours. That's it. That's what happened." The matter-of-fact delivery should have been reassuring, but Eliza felt like she was falling through empty air. This was Noah Carter, the editor who sat 3 desks away from her office. The quiet single dad who never made waves, never pushed back, never did anything to draw attention to himself. He was practically invisible in the office ecosystem, competent, reliable, and utterly forgettable. Except now he was standing in his own home, explaining how he'd saved her life while she'd been too drunk and stupid to save herself. "I need my clothes," she said, hating how small her voice sounded. "I need to leave." "Your clothes are in the dryer," Noah said. "Should be done in about 10 minutes, but maybe you should drink some coffee first. And there's breakfast if you want it." "Breakfast," Eliza laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "You found your boss passed out drunk in the rain, brought her home like a stray cat, and now you're offering breakfast?" Something flickered in Noah's expression. Not quite hurt, but close. "Is that what you think this is? Some kind of power play?" "I don't know what this is." Eliza's voice cracked, and she hated herself for it, hated the tears burning behind her eyes, hated every single second of this nightmare. "I woke up in a strange room wearing a strange man's clothes with no memory of how I got here, and you're being nice about it, and I don't understand—" "Daddy?" The small voice from the hallway froze them both. Eliza's head whipped toward the door, where a little girl now stood. The same girl from the photo on the dresser, except real and three-dimensional and staring at Eliza with enormous brown eyes full of curious concern. "Lily, honey, go back to the kitchen," Noah said quickly, but the girl was already stepping into the room, her gaze fixed on Eliza with the kind of unwavering attention only children could manage. "Is she sick?" Lily asked, not to Eliza but to Noah. "She looks sad." "She's had a rough night," Noah said gently. "Remember what we talked about? About being kind to people who are having a hard time?" Lily nodded solemnly, then turned back to Eliza. "My grandma says people fight battles we can't see. Are you fighting a battle?" The question was so pure, so devastatingly sincere, that Eliza felt something crack open in her chest. She'd spent 15 years building walls, constructing an armor of competence and control and ruthless professionalism, and this 8-year-old girl had just punched through it with a single question. Eliza's voice failed her. She swallowed hard, trying again. Yes, I guess I am. Lily considered this with the gravity of a child who'd learned empathy too young. That's okay. Daddy makes really good pancakes. They help with battles. Despite everything, the hangover, the humiliation, the complete dissolution of her dignity, Eliza felt her lips twitch. Almost a smile. Almost. Lily, let's give our guests some space, Noah said, placing a hand on his daughter's shoulder. The pancakes are getting cold. Can she have some? Lily asked. I made them into shapes. There's a dinosaur and a butterfly, and I tried to make a unicorn, but it looks more like a horse with a pointy hat. That's very thoughtful, sweetheart, Noah said. But Ms. Mercer might not. I'd like some pancakes, Eliza heard herself say. Noah's eyebrows rose slightly, surprise flickering across his face before he smoothed it away. Okay, sure. Just whenever you're ready, no pressure. He guided Lily back toward the hallway, but the girl paused at the threshold, looking back at Eliza with those two wise eyes. I'm glad you're okay, she said simply. Daddy was worried about you. Then they were gone, footsteps receding toward what Eliza assumed was the kitchen, leaving her alone in the quiet guest room with her headache and her shame and a mug of coffee cooling on the dresser. She reached for the coffee with shaking hands, wrapping her fingers around the ceramic warmth. The first sip was strong enough to make her wince, but it cut through the fog in her head, sharpening the world back into painful focus. What the hell had she done? She'd gotten fired. That part was crystalline in her memory, every excruciating second of it. Martha Chen's voice, the HR director's sympathetic frown, the security guard escorting her to collect her personal items from an office she'd occupied for a decade, the cardboard box, the pitying looks from colleagues who'd once feared her. 15 years. Gone in 15 minutes. And then she'd gotten drunk. So drunk, she'd apparently driven across the city. God, she'd driven drunk. She could have killed someone. And ended up passed out outside Noah Carter's apartment building in the rain. Noah Carter, who'd carried her inside and dried her off and checked her breathing every couple of hours. Noah Carter, whose daughter made pancakes into shapes and talked about invisible battles. Noah Carter, who was currently cooking breakfast for the woman who'd barely acknowledged his existence for the past 3 years. Eliza set down the coffee mug and dropped her face into her hands. She'd built her entire identity around being in control. The youngest department head in the company's history. The woman who never flinched, never faltered, never let emotion compromise efficiency. She'd sacrificed relationships, sleep, any semblance of a personal life, all for a career that had just discarded her like outdated software. And now here she was, hungover and half-dressed in a stranger's spare room, about to eat pancakes with a man she'd treated as furniture and his impossibly kind daughter. The universe had a sick sense of humor. But the smell of pancakes was getting stronger, and despite everything, Eliza realized she was hungry. Starving, actually. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten something that wasn't grabbed between meetings or consumed standing up at her kitchen counter while reviewing reports on her tablet. The dryer buzzed somewhere in the apartment, a mechanical announcement that her escape route was ready. Eliza stood, legs unsteady, and caught sight of herself in the small mirror hanging on the wall. She looked like a disaster. Her dark hair, usually blown out to glossy perfection, hung in tangled waves around her face. Yesterday's makeup had smeared into shadows beneath her eyes, giving her the appearance of someone who'd lost a fight with a raccoon. The oversized shirt made her look small, vulnerable, nothing like the crisp power suit version of herself that commanded boardrooms. She looked human, terrifyingly, unfamiliarly human. Taking a breath that felt like swallowing glass, Eliza opened the bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. The apartment was small, maybe a third the size of her penthouse, but it was warm in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. Photographs covered the walls. Lily at various ages, Lily and Noah making silly faces, Lily holding up artwork, Lily in a soccer uniform. A small bookshelf overflowed with a chaotic mix of children's books and literary fiction. A basket of toys sat in the corner of what passed for a living room, and someone had draped a handmade blanket over the back of a well-worn couch. It was a home. Not a showpiece, not a status symbol, but an actual home where people lived and laughed and left their mess out because they were too busy living to care about perfect presentation. Eliza had forgotten what that looked like. The kitchen was at the end of the short hallway, a galley-style space with outdated appliances and cheerful yellow curtains that were probably older than Lily. Noah stood at the stove wielding a spatula with the practiced ease of someone who'd made 10,000 pancakes. Lily sat at the small table, carefully arranging a stack of plates and forks with the concentration of a surgeon. They looked up when Eliza appeared in the doorway, and for a moment, nobody spoke. Then Lily grinned. "You came! Daddy, she came for pancakes!" "I can see that," Noah said, his voice carrying a warmth that Eliza didn't quite know how to interpret. "Sit down. Coffee's on the table if you want more." Eliza lowered herself into the empty chair across from Lily, feeling distinctly like she'd stepped through a portal into someone else's life. The little girl slid a plate across to her with ceremonious care. "This one's yours," Lily announced. "That's the butterfly. See the wings?" Eliza looked down at the pancake. It did in fact resemble a butterfly, albeit a slightly lopsided one with uneven antennae. The fact that someone had cared enough to make her breakfast into a shape felt absurdly overwhelming. "It's perfect," she said quietly. Lily beamed. "Daddy says I'm getting better at shapes. Last week I made a car, but it looked like a blob." "All shapes start as blobs," Noah said, sliding a pancake onto Lily's plate, a recognizable dinosaur with a stubby tail. "It's the intent that counts." He poured batter for another pancake, and Eliza watched his hands, steady, capable, completely unshaken by the surreal situation. How was he so calm? She'd invaded his home, his personal space, his carefully constructed life as a single father, and he was making her breakfast like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I don't understand you," Eliza said suddenly. Noah glanced over his shoulder. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she gestured helplessly, "I'm your boss, was your boss, and you found me passed out drunk in my car, and instead of calling an ambulance or leaving me there, or, I don't know, taking a picture to use as blackmail later, you brought me into your home. With your daughter, you took care of me. Why would you do that?" The kitchen fell silent except for the sizzle of batter on the griddle. Lily looked between them with wide eyes, sensing the weight of the moment, even if she didn't fully understand it. Noah flipped the pancake, a lumpy circle that might have been meant as a sun, and turned to face Eliza fully. "Because you needed help," he said simply, "and I was there. That's all." "That's not all," Eliza insisted. Normal people don't rescue their bosses from self-destructive spirals. There has to be an angle. There's always an angle. Something shifted in Noah's expression, a flicker of something that might have been sadness or pity or understanding. "Is that really what you think? That kindness only exists when there's something to gain from it?" "In my experience, yes." "Then you've had the wrong experiences." The words hung in the air between them, neither accusation nor judgment, just a statement of fact that somehow made Eliza's chest tighten. Lily, apparently deciding the conversation had gotten too serious, piped up. "Daddy helps people all the time. Last week he helped Mrs. Rodriguez carry her groceries even though she lives on the 5th floor and the elevator was broken. And he didn't get anything for it except she gave him some cookies, but they were oatmeal raisin, which are basically the worst kind of cookie." Despite herself, Eliza felt that almost smile again. "You don't like oatmeal raisin?" "They're lying cookies," Lily said with the profound seriousness of childhood conviction. "They look like chocolate chip, but then they're not, and it's a betrayal." "Lily has strong opinions about cookies," Noah said, returning to the table with his own plate, a stack of regular circles, no shapes for himself. "Strong opinions about most things, actually." "Daddy says having opinions means I'm thinking for myself," Lily said proudly. "Daddy's right," Eliza said, then paused, caught off guard by how easily the words had come. When was the last time she'd had a conversation like this? Simple, unguarded, about nothing more profound than cookie preferences? She couldn't remember. They ate in relative silence for a while. The only sounds, the clink of forks against plates, and Lily's occasional commentary about her butterfly pancake's probable backstory. Noah's pancakes were good, really good actually, fluffy and golden, with just the right amount of sweetness. Eliza doused hers in syrup and discovered she was hungrier than she'd realized. Halfway through her second pancake, her phone buzzed from somewhere in the apartment. The sound jolted her back to reality, a sharp reminder that the world outside this small kitchen still existed. "It's on the counter," Noah said, nodding toward the phone charging beside the coffee maker. "You had 17 missed calls when I plugged it in last night. I didn't look at who they were from." 17. Eliza's stomach dropped. She'd been unreachable for hours. People would have noticed. Her assistant, maybe her mother, probably some of her colleagues wanting to gawk at the spectacle of her downfall. She pushed back from the table, retrieving the phone with dread pooling in her gut. The screen lit up with notifications, voicemails, texts, emails, most from her assistant Jamie, increasingly frantic. 3 from her mother, 2 from blocked numbers that were probably reporters, because of course someone had leaked the story of her firing to the press already. 1 text from her ex-boyfriend Derek, sent at 2 in the morning. "Heard about the job. That's rough. Let me know if you need anything." She deleted it without responding. "Bad?" Noah asked quietly. "Just people wanting to know if I've thrown myself off a bridge yet," Eliza said, aiming for flippancy and landing somewhere closer to bitterness. Lily's eyes went wide. "You wouldn't do that, would you?" The genuine worry in the child's voice made Eliza's throat constrict. She set the phone down and returned to the table, looking directly into those earnest brown eyes. "No," she said firmly. "I wouldn't. I promise." Lily relaxed visibly, then went back to her pancake with the resilience of childhood, crisis averted as quickly as it had arrived. But Noah was still watching her, and Eliza could feel the weight of his attention, the unasked questions hovering between them. "You said you had a rough night," he said carefully. "Is it okay if I ask what happened?" Eliza's hands tightened around her fork. Part of her wanted to deflect, to rebuild the walls, to remind him that her personal life was none of his business. But sitting here in his kitchen, wearing his shirt, eating pancakes his daughter had shaped with love, the walls felt pointless. "I was fired," she said flatly. "Yesterday afternoon. They eliminated my position, 15 years with the company, and they eliminated my position like I was a line item in a budget report." The words tasted like ash, but saying them out loud somehow made them more real and less real at the same time. Noah's expression shifted, not to shock exactly, but to something gentler, understanding maybe. "I'm sorry, I can't imagine how that feels." "Like drowning," Eliza said before she could stop herself. "Like I built this entire identity around being indispensable, and then they just dispensed with me." Lily looked confused. "What does dispensed mean?" "It means they decided they didn't need her anymore," Noah explained gently, "which was wrong of them." "Very wrong," Lily agreed with the fierce loyalty of someone who decided Eliza was under her protection now. "You're good at your job. Daddy says you're one of the smartest people at the office." Eliza blinked at Noah. "You said that?" He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "You are. Everyone knows it. Whatever they're thinking with this restructuring, it's not about your competence. Just my expendability." Eliza pushed her half-eaten pancake around her plate. "Turns out there's a difference." The coffee machine gurgled in the corner, filling the silence that followed. Outside the window, Brooklyn was waking up. Car horns, distant sirens, the rhythmic thump of someone's bass-heavy music. Normal city sounds for a normal Saturday morning. Except nothing about this was normal. "What will you do?" Noah asked. It was such a simple question, but Eliza realized she had no answer. For 15 years, her entire life had been structured around her career. Wake up at 5:30, gym by 6, office by 7:30. 12-hour days minimum, 14 during busy seasons. Weekends spent reading industry reports and preparing presentations. Vacations cut short for crisis management. And now, what? "I don't know," she admitted. "I literally have no idea. I've never not had a plan before." "Maybe that's not a bad thing," Noah suggested. "Having space to figure out what you actually want instead of what you're supposed to want." Eliza looked at him sharply. "You don't know what I want." "Neither do you, I think," he said calmly. "And that's okay. You don't have to have it figured out right now." The presumption should have annoyed her, should have triggered her defensive reflexes. But instead, she felt something uncomfortably close to relief. Permission to not have answers. When was the last time anyone had given her that? Her phone buzzed again, another text sliding across the screen. Jamie, her assistant, please just let me know you're alive. People are worried. I should go, Eliza said abruptly, standing up. I've imposed enough. Thank you for the pancakes and for... She gestured vaguely. Everything. Last night. You didn't have to do any of this. I know, Noah said. But I wanted to. Those 4 words landed heavier than they should have. Eliza found herself unable to hold his gaze, so she focused on Lily instead. Thank you for sharing your pancakes, she told the girl. And for the butterfly. You can come back for pancakes any time, Lily said brightly. We have them every Saturday. Daddy's rule. That's a good rule, Eliza said, and meant it. Noah stood, clearing the plates with practiced efficiency. Your clothes should be in the dryer. I'll show you where... I can find it, Eliza interrupted, needing space, needing air, needing to escape this kindness before it completely unmade her. Thank you. Really, I'll get dressed and go. She fled back down the hallway before Noah could respond, before Lily could offer more innocent wisdom, before the warmth of this place could seep any deeper into the cracks that were forming in her armor. The guest room felt different now, less like a prison, more like a sanctuary she didn't deserve. Eliza stripped off Noah's shirt, folding it with unexpected care before setting it on the bed. Her suit was in the dryer, warm and slightly wrinkled but mercifully dry. She dressed quickly, trying to ignore how the familiar armor of professional clothing felt wrong now, like putting on a costume for a play that had already closed. Her reflection in the mirror was still a disaster, makeup-smeared face, tangled hair, but at least she looked like herself again. Sort of. She found her purse on the dresser, her phone Xian, her keys. Everything she'd walked in with, minus her dignity, and plus a memory she'd carry forever. A little girl's gap-toothed smile and a single father's quiet kindness. When she emerged from the bedroom, Noah was waiting in the living room, Lily already distracted with coloring at the kitchen table. I called you a car, he said, holding up his phone. It'll be here in about 5 minutes. I wasn't sure if you'd driven here or... I drove, Eliza said, then winced. God, I drove drunk. I could have killed someone. But you didn't, Noah said firmly. And your car is parked safely outside. I can help you get it later, or tomorrow, whenever you're ready. No rush. Always so practical, so calm. Eliza wondered what it must be like to move through the world with that kind of steadiness instead of her constant internal hurricane. Noah, she said, forcing herself to meet his eyes. About last night, about all of this, I need you to know that I won't make it weird at work. When I come back, I mean. Or if I come back, whatever happens, it won't affect anything professional. You don't have to worry about Eliza. He said her name gently, like waking someone from a nightmare. I'm not worried about that, and you're not coming back. Her breath caught. What? To that job, he clarified. You're not going back there. They fired you, remember? Right. The word felt stupid, obvious, but her brain was still processing in crisis mode, still trying to sort everything into boxes labeled professional and personal and disaster. For what it's worth, Noah continued, I think this might be the best thing that could have happened to you. Eliza laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. Getting fired is the best thing that could have happened to me? Getting freed, he corrected. From a place that didn't value you properly. From a life that was making you miserable even if you wouldn't admit it. You don't know anything about my life. I know you worked 15-hour days and rarely smiled. I know you ate lunch at your desk every day, usually while on a conference call. I know you came in sick more than once because you said you didn't have time to be sick. I know... He paused, something flickering in his expression. I know that in 3 years of working near you, I never once saw you look as relaxed as you did eating pancakes with my daughter this morning. The observation landed like a physical blow, knocking the air from Eliza's lungs. Before she could formulate a response, Lily called from the kitchen. Daddy, I drew a picture for Ms. Mercer. Noah glanced back toward the kitchen, then returned his attention to Eliza. 1 second. He disappeared into the kitchen, and Eliza heard low voices, then Lily's footsteps approaching. The girl appeared in the living room doorway, holding a piece of construction paper covered in crayon marks. "This is for you," Lily said, presenting it with ceremonial gravity. "It makes sad things better." Eliza took the drawing, her hands trembling slightly. It was a rainbow. Of course it was a rainbow, arcing over what might have been a house or possibly a very colorful mountain. A stick figure with yellow hair, presumably Eliza, stood next to a taller stick figure, Noah, and a smaller one, Lily, beneath the rainbow. Silver glitter had been applied with enthusiastic abandon, creating a sparkly chaos across the entire scene. It was objectively terrible art. It was the most beautiful thing Eliza had seen in years. "Thank you," she whispered, because her normal voice wouldn't work past the lump in her throat. "I love it." "You have to keep it forever," Lily instructed. "That's the rule with special pictures." "Forever," Eliza agreed. "I promise." Her phone buzzed, the car service, announcing its arrival downstairs. "That's my ride," she said, carefully folding the drawing and sliding it into her purse like a precious artifact. "I should go." Noah walked her to the door, Lily trailing behind like a small, concerned shadow. At the threshold, Eliza turned back one more time. "Noah, thank you. For everything. For seeing me at my worst and not—" "It wasn't your worst," he interrupted gently. "It was just your most human. There's a difference." Their eyes met, and for a moment something passed between them, an understanding maybe, or a recognition that this strange night had changed something fundamental, though neither of them quite knew what yet. "Take care of yourself, Eliza," Noah said. "Really take care of yourself. Not the way you think you should, but the way you actually need." Eliza nodded, not trusting her voice, and stepped into the hallway. Behind her, she heard Lily's voice one last time. "Bye, Miss Mercer. Come back for pancakes." The door closed softly, and Eliza stood alone in the dingy hallway of a Brooklyn apartment building she'd never been to before, wearing yesterday's wrinkled suit and carrying a glitter-covered rainbow drawing in her $1,000 purse. The elevator ride down felt like descending from a dream into reality, each floor taking her further from the warm kitchen and closer to the cold truth of her situation. No job, no identity, no plan. Just the memory of pancakes shaped like butterflies and a quiet man's unexpected kindness. The car was waiting outside, a sleek black sedan that looked absurdly out of place on this modest Brooklyn street. Eliza slid into the back seat, gave the driver her address in Manhattan, and watched through the tinted window as Noah's building receded into the distance. Her phone buzzed constantly during the ride. More texts, more voicemails, more people wanting pieces of her story. She ignored them all, her hand drifting instead to her purse, touching the folded edge of Lily's drawing. "People fight battles we can't see," the child had said, quoting her grandmother's wisdom. Eliza had been fighting for 15 years, fighting for promotions, for respect, for a seat at tables that didn't want her there. Fighting to prove she deserved her success, fighting to maintain it, fighting against every doubt and dismissal and patronizing comment. And she'd won, mostly. Climbed higher and faster than most people thought possible. But what had victory cost her? The car crossed the bridge back into Manhattan, and Eliza stared out at the city skyline. Her city, the place where she'd built her empire. Except the empire had crumbled in 15 minutes, and now she was just a woman in a wrinkled suit, going home to an empty apartment. When they pulled up outside her building, the doorman's eyebrows rose slightly at her disheveled appearance, but he said nothing, just nodded respectfully as he opened the door. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt longer than usual. When the doors finally opened directly into her apartment, Eliza stepped into the pristine space and felt absolutely nothing. Everything was exactly as she'd left it yesterday morning, which felt like a lifetime ago. The marble floors gleamed. The designer furniture sat in perfect arrangement. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered their million-dollar view of Central Park. The art on the walls cost more than most people made in a year. It was beautiful. It was empty. It was a museum, not a home. Eliza walked through the space, seeing it differently now. No photographs on the walls, no toys in corners, no handmade blankets or cluttered bookshelves or rocket ship lamps. No signs that anyone actually lived here, actually existed here as a full human being with a life beyond work. She'd been so proud of this place once. Proof that she'd made it, that she'd succeeded against all odds. Now it just felt like a very expensive tomb. Her phone rang, her mother's number flashing on the screen. Eliza let it go to voicemail. She couldn't handle her mother's particular brand of concerned criticism right now. The inevitable questions about what she'd done wrong to get fired, what she planned to do next, why she couldn't just be satisfied with a normal job and a normal life. Instead, she walked to her bedroom, stripped off the suit that had felt like armor and now felt like a lie, and stood under the shower until the hot water ran cold. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a plush robe that cost more than Noah's entire guest room furniture combined, she found herself standing in front of her home office, the room where she'd spent countless nights working on presentations and strategies and reports that had ultimately meant nothing to the people who'd fired her. Her laptop sat on the desk, closed and dark. Eliza opened it, stared at the login screen, and realized she had no idea what to do with herself. For 15 years, every waking moment had been scheduled, optimized, directed toward clear professional goals. Wake up, work out, work, sleep, repeat. And now? Nothing. Absolute, terrifying nothing. She pulled up her email. A mistake, immediately. Her inbox overflowed with messages, automated notifications that her corporate accounts had been deactivated, sympathetic notes from colleagues who'd seen the news, a formal letter from HR outlining her severance package, subject lines that made her stomach turn. Sorry to hear. If you need anything. What happened? Eliza closed the laptop with more force than necessary. She was spiraling. She could feel it happening, the panic building in her chest like a storm gaining strength. This was how last night had started. The overwhelming sense of falling, of losing control, of needing to do something, anything, to make the feeling stop. Her hand reached for her phone, already pulling up the number for her usual wine delivery service. Then she stopped. Remembered waking up in a strange room. Remembered the shame of not knowing how she'd gotten there. Remembered Noah's voice. You were hypothermic. Your lips were blue. Remembered Lily's worried eyes. You wouldn't do that, would you? Slowly, Eliza set the phone down. She wouldn't do this. Not again. Instead, she pulled the drawing from her purse, slightly crumpled now, glitter flaking onto her expensive hardwood floors, and stared at the crayon rainbow, the stick figures, the enthusiastic mess of it all. It makes sad things better, Lily had promised. Eliza didn't know if that was true, but she carefully smoothed the paper, walked to her kitchen, and used a magnet to attach it to her pristine, never-used refrigerator, a splash of chaotic color in her monochrome world. Outside, the city hummed with Saturday afternoon life, people living, laughing, fighting their invisible battles. And somewhere in Brooklyn, a single father was probably washing pancake dishes while his daughter colored more pictures, both of them unaware that they'd saved someone's life without even trying. Eliza Mercer didn't know what came next, but for the first time in 15 years, she thought maybe that was okay. Maybe not knowing was the first step toward finding out what she actually wanted, instead of what she was supposed to want. Maybe losing everything was the only way to discover what actually mattered. Maybe, just maybe, hitting bottom meant the only direction left was up. She picked up her phone one more time, opened a new message to Noah's number, which he'd added to her contacts last night when he'd charged her phone. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long moment before she finally typed, "Thank you for the pancakes. And for everything else. I mean it." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then set the phone down and waited, though she wasn't sure what she was waiting for. The response came 2 minutes later. "Anytime. Lily says next time you should try the dinosaur pancakes. They're her specialty. Take care, Eliza." A small smile crossed her face. A real one. Maybe the first genuine smile she'd managed in months. "I will," she typed back, "and tell Lily I'd love to try the dinosaurs." She meant it. Standing in her empty penthouse, looking at a child's drawing on her refrigerator, Eliza Mercer felt something she hadn't felt since yesterday afternoon in that conference room. Hope. Small, fragile, possibly foolish, but real. And for now, that was enough. The weekend passed in a fog of uncertainty, punctuated by moments of unexpected clarity. Eliza spent Saturday afternoon staring at job boards without actually applying to anything, her cursor hovering over positions that looked impressive on paper but felt hollow in her gut. By Sunday evening, she'd accomplished nothing except reorganizing her closet. Twice, and fielding increasingly persistent calls from her mother that she continued to ignore. Monday morning arrived with cruel punctuality. Her alarm went off at 5:30 out of habit, and Eliza lay in bed staring at the ceiling, realizing she had nowhere to go. No morning meeting to prepare for, no inbox demanding immediate attention, no reason to put on the armor of her power suit and pretend she had everything under control. She turned off the alarm and pulled the covers over her head. By Wednesday, the walls of her penthouse were closing in. She'd watched enough Netflix to make her eyes blur, eaten nothing but expensive takeout that tasted like cardboard, and discovered that daytime television was somehow both mind-numbing and anxiety-inducing. Her mother had finally stopped calling and started texting instead, each message a small detonation of passive-aggressive concern. "Your father wants to know if you're eating properly. The Hendersons' daughter just made partner at her firm. So proud of young people who apply themselves. I ran into Martha Chen at the club. She said you left on good terms?" That's something, at least. Eliza deleted them without responding. Thursday afternoon, her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. She almost let it go to voicemail, had been letting everything go to voicemail, but something made her answer. "Ms. Mercer?" The voice was young, female, uncertain. "This is Jenna Park. From the office? I worked in your department." Eliza's stomach tightened. "Jenna, hi. What can I do for you?" "I just wanted to call and say I'm sorry about what happened. It's not right. Everyone knows it's not right." Jenna's voice wavered. "And I wanted to tell you that Noah's been let go too." The words took a moment to penetrate. "What?" "They fired him this morning. Same reason they gave you. Position eliminated, restructuring, all that corporate speak garbage. He's been cleaning out his desk for the past hour." Eliza sat up so fast her vision spotted. "They fired Noah? But he's been there for years. He's one of the best editors they have." "I know." Jenna sounded close to tears. "They're gutting the whole department. 6 people gone this week. It's a massacre." After she hung up, Eliza sat motionless on her couch, her mind racing. Noah had lost his job. Noah, who'd spent his Saturday morning making pancakes for a drunk stranger instead of worrying about his own career stability. Noah, who had a daughter depending on him, who lived in a modest apartment and probably didn't have the kind of savings cushion that came from 15 years of executive paychecks. She found his number in her contacts before she could talk herself out of it. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Eliza?" "I heard," she said, "about your job. I'm so sorry." There was a pause, then a long exhale. News travels fast. "Are you okay? Is Lily okay?" "We're fine." But his voice carried a weight that contradicted the words. "I saw it coming, honestly. Once they started the restructuring, I knew it was just a matter of time before they worked their way down to my level." "It's not fair," Eliza said fiercely. "You're brilliant at what you do. They're idiots for letting you go." A surprised laugh crackled through the phone. "Thanks. That's actually really nice to hear." "I mean it." Eliza stood, pacing her living room with sudden energy. "Noah, what are you going to do?" "Update my resume, start applying. Same as everyone else in this situation, I guess." He paused. "How are you doing? It's been a few days since you saved my life and made me pancakes." "I've been better, but I've been worse too." She stopped pacing, an idea crystallizing in her mind with sudden, startling clarity. "Noah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to hear me out before you say no." "Okay. What if we didn't have to go crawling to other companies begging for jobs that will probably eliminate us in another 3 years when they do their next round of restructuring?" The words came faster now, fueled by adrenaline and something that felt dangerously like hope. "What if we started our own thing?" Silence on the other end. "I'm serious," Eliza continued. "I've got contacts, industry knowledge, and enough severance to float us for the first 6 months. You've got talent, experience, and the kind of editorial judgment those idiots never properly valued. Between us, we could build something real. Something that doesn't treat people like disposable assets." "Eliza, I don't know it." "Don't answer now. Just think about it. I'm going to put together a proper proposal, run some numbers, figure out what this could actually look like. Give me a week. Then we'll talk. Can you give me that?" Another pause, longer this time, then 1 week. But Eliza, I can't afford to make risky decisions right now. I've got Lily to think about. I know, and that's exactly why this could work. No more worrying about restructurings or position eliminations. We build it right from the start. Sustainable, ethical, valuing people over profit margins. Imagine that. It sounds impossible. So did getting fired 3 weeks ago. Yet, here we are. She heard something that might have been a smile in his voice. 1 week, then we talk. 1 week, Eliza agreed. After they hung up, she stood in her living room feeling more alive than she had since walking out of that conference room with her belongings in a cardboard box. Her laptop was already open, a blank document waiting, and for the first time in days, she knew exactly what to do. She worked through the night, fueled by coffee and the kind of manic energy that came from finally having direction. By sunrise, she had the skeleton of a business plan. Market analysis, competitive positioning, preliminary budget projections. By noon, she'd drafted a services menu and started reaching out to former clients who'd always preferred working with her over the agency's official channels. The responses came faster than she expected.
Eliza! I heard what happened. Those fools! When are you hanging your own shingle? I've got 3 projects I'd love to discuss. About damn time you went out on your own. Send me your new rates when you're set up. The agency's already dropping the ball on our account.
Would love to talk about bringing our business to you instead. By Thursday, she had 4 confirmed clients and 3 more expressing serious interest. The numbers were adding up to something viable. Not a fortune, not yet, but enough to build on. Enough to believe this wasn't just a desperate fantasy. She called Noah that evening, unable to wait the full week. I know I said 7 days, she began, but I need to show you something. Can I come to you tomorrow morning? Eliza, it's only been 3 days. I know, but I've got client commitments, real ones. And I think this could actually work, but I need you to see the numbers, please. She could hear Lily's voice in the background, asking who was on the phone. It's Ms. Mercer, Noah said, slightly muffled. Then, back to Eliza. Okay, come over Saturday morning. Lily will be thrilled. She's been asking when you're coming back for pancakes. Tell her I'd love to try those dinosaurs she mentioned. I will. Saturday morning found Eliza standing outside Noah's building again, but this time she was sober, prepared, and carrying a laptop bag instead of a hangover. She'd dressed carefully, not the corporate armor, but nice jeans and a cashmere sweater that said professional without screaming desperate. Noah answered the door in his usual weekend uniform of worn jeans and a faded t-shirt, flour dusting his hands. You're just in time, he said. Lily's been supervising pancake production for the past 20 minutes. Very exacting standards, apparently. Eliza followed him inside, hit again by the warmth of the space. It still felt like a home instead of a showpiece, even more so in the morning light streaming through those cheerful yellow curtains. Ms. Mercer! Lily bounded into the hallway, her face lighting up. You came back. Daddy said you might, and I hoped you would because I made a new picture for you, but it's not done yet, but I can show you anyway if you want. I'd love to see it, Eliza said, surprised by how much she meant it. But after pancakes, your dad says you're making dinosaurs today. The best dinosaurs, Lily confirmed solemnly, with extra crispy edges because those are the tastiest parts. In the kitchen, the griddle was already hot, and Noah had apparently upgraded his technique since last time. The dinosaur pancake that emerged was genuinely recognizable, complete with tiny arms, a tail, and what might have been spikes along its back. That's a stegosaurus, Lily announced proudly. It's an herbivore, which means it only eats plants, which is sad because bacon is delicious. Can't argue with that logic, Eliza said, accepting the plate Noah handed her. They ate together at the small table, and Eliza found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't expected. Lily chattered about school and her upcoming soccer game, and a boy named Tyler who kept stealing her erasers. Noah listened with the kind of patient attention that suggested he'd heard this story 3 times already, but didn't mind hearing it again. It was so normal, so utterly, beautifully normal. When breakfast was finished and Lily had retreated to her room to work on the mysterious new picture, Noah poured fresh coffee and gestured to the laptop bag Eliza had brought. Okay, he said, show me what you've got. Eliza opened her laptop, pulling up the spreadsheet she'd been refining all week. I'm calling it Mercer Editorial Services for now.
We can workshop the name. The concept is boutique content strategy and editorial services. We'd be small, selective, focused on quality over volume. She walked him through the numbers, the client commitments, the projected growth. Noah listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable, occasionally leaning forward to study a particular cell in the spreadsheet. "These clients," he said finally, "they're all from your previous agency?" "Technically, they were never the agency's clients. They were mine. I brought them in, managed the relationships, did most of the actual work. The agency just took their cut and slapped their logo on the deliverables. And they're all willing to follow you?" "Already confirmed. 4 signed letters of intent, 3 more verbal commitments. That's enough to cover our operating costs for the first year, assuming we keep overhead low." Noah's finger traced down the expenses column. "You're not paying yourself much." "Neither are you in this projection. We'd both take reduced salaries the first year while we build the client base and reputation. Year 2, we scale up." She paused. "I know it's a risk. I know you have Lily to think about, and benefits, and stability. But Noah, look at this last tab." She clicked over to her comparison analysis. The salary and benefits he'd been making at the agency versus what she was proposing for year 2 and beyond. His eyes widened. "This is 30% more than you were making, with profit sharing, and flexible hours so you can actually attend Lily's soccer games instead of missing them for pointless meetings." "Eliza, this is incredibly generous. It's not generosity, it's fair compensation for what you're worth." She met his eyes. "They underpaid you for years because you didn't make waves. I'm not going to make that same mistake." Noah sat back, running a hand through his hair. The gesture made him look younger somehow, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen at the office. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. "Anything." "Why me? You could partner with anyone, people with more experience, bigger networks, stronger industry reputations. Why offer this to someone who's just a mid-level editor you barely knew 3 weeks ago?" Eliza closed the laptop, meeting his gaze directly. "Because 3 weeks ago, you saw your boss passed out in the rain, and instead of taking pictures or calling it karma or leaving me to whatever I deserved, you carried me inside and made sure I was safe. Because you have a daughter who makes pancakes into shapes and believes pictures can make sad things better, which means you're raising her with more emotional intelligence than most adults I know. Because in 3 years of working near you, I never once saw you throw anyone under the bus, or take credit for someone else's work, or treat support staff like they were beneath you." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "And because when you edit, you make things better without making the writer feel stupid. That's rare. Most editors I've worked with either slash your work to ribbons or barely touch it because they can't be bothered. You actually care about making the work stronger while respecting the writer's voice. That's a skill you can't teach, and it's exactly what we need." Noah's expression had shifted to something she couldn't quite read. Surprise, maybe, or disbelief that someone had noticed these things about him. "I need to think about it," he said finally. "Not because I'm not interested, but because this is huge. It's my daughter's stability on the line." "I know. Take the time you need. But Noah..." She pulled out a folder she'd prepared, sliding it across the table. "These are actual client contracts, signed, guaranteed income. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky dream. We have a foundation to build on." He opened the folder, scanning the documents with the careful attention of someone who'd learned not to trust things that seemed too good to be true. "Holy shit," he muttered. "The Anderson Group? They're massive. And they're tired of being one of 40 clients at a big agency. They want personalized attention, faster turnaround, direct access to the people actually doing the work. We can give them that." Lily's voice called from her bedroom. "Daddy, I finished the picture." "1 second, honey," Noah called back, then returned his attention to Eliza. "When do you need an answer?" "End of next week. I need to give these clients a firm timeline for when we can start taking on their projects." "Okay," he nodded slowly. "End of next week. I'll have an answer by then." "That's all I'm asking." Lily appeared in the doorway, holding a fresh sheet of construction paper covered in, Eliza had to look twice, what appeared to be a unicorn made of glitter and determination. "This one's even better than the rainbow," Lily announced, presenting it to Eliza with ceremonial gravity. "It has a horn and wings, which makes it extra magical." Eliza accepted the drawing,
feeling that same strange tightness in her chest she'd experienced last time. It's perfect. Thank you, Lily. You can hang it on your refrigerator with the other one, Lily said matter-of-factly. That's where special pictures live. That's exactly where it's going, Eliza promised. As she prepared to leave, Noah walked her to the door while Lily returned to her room to start on what she described as an epic castle scene with dragons. She really likes you, Noah said quietly. It usually takes her longer to warm up to people. The feeling's mutual. She's an amazing kid. You should be proud. I am. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Eliza, can I ask what changed? What do you mean? 3 weeks ago, you barely acknowledged my existence at work. Now you're offering me a partnership in a startup company. That's a significant shift. Eliza considered deflecting, keeping things professional, but something about Noah's steady gaze made her want to be honest. I think I've been sleepwalking through my life for a long time, she said slowly. Building a career I thought would make me happy, surrounding myself with expensive things, checking all the boxes society tells you matter. And then I lost it all in 15 minutes. And you know what the scariest part was? What? Realizing I didn't actually miss it. The job, the status, the corner office, none of it. The only thing I felt was relief that I didn't have to keep pretending anymore. She paused. You and Lily, that morning, you showed me what I'd been missing. Real connection, actual kindness, a life that matters because of the people in it, not the title on your business card. Noah's expression softened. That's not nothing. It's everything. And I don't want to go back to the way things were. I want to build something different, something better. She met his eyes. I want to build it with someone who gets that, someone who knows what actually matters. For a moment, they just stood there in the doorway, the city humming around them, something unspoken shifting in the air between them. End of next week, Noah said finally. I'll give you my answer. That's all I'm asking. The subway ride back to Manhattan felt different than it had 3 weeks ago. Eliza watched the other passengers, a woman reading to her toddler, a teenager sketching in a notebook, an elderly couple holding hands, and instead of seeing them as background noise in her important life, she saw them as people living their own stories, fighting their own battles, building their own versions of happiness. When she got home, she hung Lily's unicorn picture next to the rainbow on her refrigerator. The 2 splashes of chaotic color looked ridiculous against the pristine white appliance, completely out of place in her minimalist kitchen. She loved them. That evening, her mother finally caught her on the phone.
Eliza Catherine Mercer, I have been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? Hi, Mom. I'm fine. Fine? You lose your job and disappear for weeks and expect me to believe you're fine? Eliza poured herself a glass of water, settling onto her couch with resignation. I'm handling it. I've actually been working on something new. A business venture. Her mother's tone shifted to wary interest. What kind of business venture? Editorial services, content strategy. It's still in early stages, but I've already got several clients lined up. Clients from where? People I worked with at the agency. They're following me. A long pause. Eliza, is this wise? Starting a company in this economy? With your background, you could get another position at a reputable firm. My friend Barbara's daughter works in HR at... I don't want another position at a reputable firm, Mom. I want to build something of my own.
That's very idealistic, dear, but idealism doesn't pay the bills. Eliza felt the familiar frustration rising, but pushed it down. I've run the numbers. It's viable. And even if it weren't, I'd rather try and fail at something I believe in than succeed at something that makes me miserable. You were miserable? At that wonderful job with the corner office and the excellent salary?
Yes, Mom. I was. Her mother sighed, the sound carrying 15 years of accumulated disappointment. I don't understand you, Eliza. You had everything most people dream of. I had everything you dream of. There's a difference. The words hung between them, sharper than Eliza had intended, but not untrue. Well, her mother said stiffly, I suppose you'll do what you want regardless of my opinion. You always have. Mom, just promise me you're being smart about this, not rushing into something because you're emotional about being let go.
I promise I'm being smart, Eliza said, and meant it. This is calculated, strategic, everything you taught me about planning and preparation. A slight thaw in her mother's tone. Who's your business partner? Anyone I'd know? Noah Carter. He was an editor at the agency. Is he qualified? What's his background? He's brilliant at what he does. He's reliable, and he's someone I trust. That's what matters. Another pause. Trust is good, but trust doesn't balance the books, dear. Make sure you have a solid contract. Everything in writing. Protect yourself. Despite everything, Eliza smiled. Her mother's version of love had always come wrapped in pragmatic advice and worst-case scenario planning. I will, Mom. Thank you. And Eliza? Call more often. Your father asks about you. I will. I promise. After they hung up, Eliza sat in her quiet apartment, thinking about trust and contracts and partnerships built on more than just business sense. The week crawled by with agonizing slowness. Eliza finalized contracts, set up preliminary accounting systems, researched office space options, though starting from home seemed more practical for the first year. She drafted employee handbooks, benefit structures, mission statements that meant something instead of corporate speak. She was building a foundation, piece by piece. But underneath all the practical work, anxiety hummed like a live wire. What if Noah said no? What if he decided the risk was too great, the reward too uncertain? She had contingency plans, could hire another editor, could even launch solo and bring someone on later. But it wouldn't be the same. She wanted Noah specifically. His talent, yes, but also his steadiness, his decency, the way he made her want to be better, do better, build something worth being proud of. Friday evening, her phone rang. Noah's number. Eliza's heart kicked into overdrive as she answered. Hi. Hi. A pause. So, I've been thinking. And? I had lunch with my daughter yesterday. Well, we have lunch together every day, but this one was different. I told her about your offer, explained what it would mean. What did she say? She asked if you'd still come over for pancakes if I said yes. A smile in his voice now. I told her that wasn't really how business partnerships worked, but she seemed to think it was an important factor in the decision. Smart kid. Pancake access is crucial to any successful venture. Noah laughed, a warm sound that traveled through the phone and settled somewhere in Eliza's chest. She also said she likes you because you're nice even when you're sad, and that you should definitely be my partner because partners help each other, and that's what friends do. Out of the mouths of babes. Yeah. He took a breath. Eliza, I'm in. Let's do this. The relief that flooded through her was so intense she had to sit down. You're sure? Honestly, I'm terrified. But I'm also excited in a way I haven't been about work in years. Maybe ever. So yes, I'm sure. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. She could hear the smile broadening. When do we start? How about Monday? We can meet at a coffee shop, sign the partnership agreement, officially launch Mercer Editorial Services. Shouldn't it be Mercer Carter Editorial Services? Eliza paused. You'd want your name on it? Our company, our names, equal partners, right? Right, absolutely right. She was grinning now, actually grinning. Mercer Carter Editorial Services. I like it. Me too. Send me the details for Monday. And Eliza? Yeah? Thank you. For seeing something in me I wasn't sure anyone saw. Thank you for taking the leap with me. After they hung up, Eliza sat in her living room as the sun set over Central Park, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. She pulled out her laptop and updated the business plan, adding Noah's name to the header, adjusting projections, fine-tuning details. They were doing this. Actually doing this. Building something from nothing, together. Her phone buzzed with a text from Noah. Lily wants to know if we're having a grand opening party with cake. Eliza laughed and typed back, Tell her we'll absolutely have cake. And she's invited. The response came quickly. She says it has to be chocolate with sprinkles. Non-negotiable. Done. Chocolate with sprinkles it is. She's very pleased with this arrangement. See you Monday, partner. See you Monday. Eliza set down her phone and looked around her penthouse. at the expensive furniture and designer fixtures and floor-to-ceiling windows that had once seemed like the pinnacle of success. It was still beautiful. But beauty wasn't enough anymore. She wanted purpose, connection, work that mattered, a life that felt lived instead of optimized. And maybe, just maybe, she was finally on the path to finding it. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that made everything feel possible. Eliza met Noah at a coffee shop in Chelsea, halfway between her world and his, carrying a leather portfolio that contained partnership agreements, business licenses, and the official documentation that would transform their leap of faith into legal reality. Noah was already there when she arrived, seated at a corner table with 2 coffees waiting. He'd dressed up, button-down shirt, nice jeans, hair actually combed, and the effort touched her more than it probably should have. "You're early," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Couldn't sleep. Lily woke me up at 5 asking if today was the day we became business owners." He pushed one of the coffees toward her. "Double espresso, right? I remembered from the office." The fact that he'd noticed her coffee order from 3 years of working in proximity made something warm unfurl in Eliza's chest. "Perfect. Thank you." They went through the documents together, Noah reading each page with the careful attention of someone who understood that details mattered. Eliza watched him process the terms, occasionally asking clarifying questions that showed he wasn't just signing blindly, but engaging with every clause, every commitment. "This profit-sharing structure," he said, tapping the page. "You're giving me equal stake even though you're fronting most of the startup capital. We're equal partners. That means equal ownership, equal say, equal rewards." She met his eyes. "I don't want this to be another situation where you're undervalued because someone thinks they can get away with it." Noah studied her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. "Has anyone ever told you that you're kind of remarkable?" "Not in any way that mattered," Eliza said honestly. "Usually it's demanding or difficult or impressive for a woman." "Well, they were wrong. You're remarkable. Full stop." The sincerity in his voice made her look away, suddenly flustered. She wasn't used to compliments that didn't come with qualifiers or hidden agendas. "We should sign before I get too sentimental about business contracts," she said, pulling out a pen. They signed together, hands moving across pages in synchronized motion, making it official. Mercer Carter Editorial Services was born in a Chelsea coffee shop on a Monday morning in October, witnessed by a barista making oat milk lattes and a college student writing what looked like a philosophy paper. "We did it," Noah said, setting down his pen with a slightly dazed expression. "We did it," Eliza echoed. "We're officially business owners." "Terrifying." "Absolutely terrifying," she agreed. "Want to go tell our first client we're ready to start?" They spent the afternoon in Eliza's penthouse, which felt less tomb-like with Noah's presence filling the space, setting up operations. Noah brought his laptop and a nervous energy that manifested in frequent pacing. Eliza commandeered her dining room table as their temporary headquarters, spreading out client files and project timelines with the precision of a general planning a campaign. "The Anderson Group wants to start with a content audit," she said, pulling up their requirements. 300 existing articles, assess quality, identify gaps, recommend strategic revisions. Noah whistled low. "That's massive. Timeline?" 6 weeks. I told them it was ambitious but doable with both of us on it. Aggressive but manageable if we divide strategically. He was already making notes, his editorial brain clicking into gear. "I'll take the technical pieces. Those are my strength. You handle the business strategy content. We can cross-review before final delivery." They fell into a rhythm quickly, surprisingly quickly. Eliza would outline approach, and Noah would refine methodology. Noah would flag potential issues, and Eliza would devise solutions. It felt less like 2 people struggling to mesh, and more like 2 instruments finding harmony. By evening, they had a project plan that would have taken Eliza a week to develop alone. "We're good at this," Noah said, leaning back in his chair with something like wonder in his voice. "We really are." Eliza glanced at her watch. "It's almost 7. You should get home to Lily." "Yeah, I should." But he didn't move immediately, his gaze drifting around her apartment, taking in the stark minimalism, the lack of personal touches, the perfection that felt hollow. "This is a beautiful place." "It's empty," Eliza said before she could stop herself.
beautiful and empty, like a hotel suite someone forgot to check out of. Noah's eyes found hers, understanding flickering in them. You could change that. I'm working on it.
She gestured to the refrigerator, where Lily's drawings provided the only splash of color in the pristine kitchen. Small steps. A smile crossed his face. Lily will be thrilled to know her art is getting premium placement. Tell her I'm accepting commissions. My refrigerator has a lot of empty real estate. I'll let her know. Fair warning, though.
She takes her art very seriously. There will be creative consultations. I look forward to them. As Noah gathered his things to leave, Eliza felt an unexpected reluctance to see him go. The apartment would feel even emptier once he left, and they'd accomplished so much in one afternoon that she wasn't ready to stop. Same time tomorrow? She asked. Actually, I was thinking... Noah paused at the door. What if we found actual office space? Nothing fancy, but somewhere we could set up properly. Leave work at work, keep our personal spaces separate. That's very sensible and professional of you. Lily's therapist recommended it, actually. After her mom left, I had a bad habit of bringing work stress home. Physical boundaries help maintain emotional ones. The casual mention of therapy, of his ex-wife leaving, of the kind of self-awareness most people avoided, it made Eliza respect him even more. Okay, let's look at spaces this week. Small, affordable, good light, if possible. I'll research options. He shifted his laptop bag on his shoulder. Thanks for today, Eliza. This feels real now, like we're actually building something. We are building something, and it's going to be great. After he left, Eliza ordered Thai food and worked until midnight, riding the momentum of the day. She created templates, drafted client communications, built systems that would scale as they grew. It was the kind of work she'd always loved, strategic, creative, building something from raw potential. But this time, she wasn't building for someone else's company. She was building her own, their own. The next 3 weeks blurred together in a frenzy of productivity. They found office space, a small third-floor walk-up in a converted warehouse in Dumbo with exposed brick, huge windows, and rent they could actually afford. Noah handled the technical setup while Eliza managed client relationships. They hired a part-time assistant, a recent graduate named Maya, who brought enthusiasm and social media skills they desperately needed. The Anderson Group project consumed their days. Noah worked through content with the precision of a surgeon, identifying weaknesses, suggesting improvements, elevating good writing to exceptional writing. Eliza coordinated with the client, managed timelines, negotiated scope changes when they inevitably arose. They worked well together. More than well. They complemented each other's strengths, covered each other's blind spots, developed a shorthand that made communication effortless. When Eliza got too aggressive with a client, Noah would gently pull her back. When Noah got too caught up in editorial perfection, Eliza would remind him about deadlines. It was the healthiest professional relationship she'd ever had. And something else was happening too, something neither of them mentioned, but both were starting to notice. The way Noah brought her coffee without being asked, remembering she took it with 2 sugars after noon when her energy flagged. The way Eliza started leaving work at 5 on Tuesdays because Noah mentioned that was Lily's soccer night. The lingering conversations after meetings ended, talking about nothing important and everything that mattered. The way her heart beat a little faster when his name appeared on her phone. One Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks into the Anderson project, Noah looked up from his laptop with an expression of barely contained excitement. Eliza, look at this. She crossed to his desk, leaning over his shoulder to see the screen. It was an email from the Anderson Group's CEO. I wanted to reach out personally to say how impressed we've been with your work so far. The content audit has already revealed opportunities we hadn't identified internally, and your recommendations are exactly the strategic thinking we were hoping for. We'd like to discuss expanding our engagement beyond the initial project. Would you be available for a call next week to discuss? Eliza read it twice, then a third time, making sure she wasn't hallucinating. They want to expand, she said slowly. They want to expand. Noah spun his chair to face her, grinning. 3 weeks in and our anchor client wants more work. This is good. This is really good. This is better than good. This is validation that we're not just competent, we're exceptional. The excitement was infectious. Eliza felt it bubbling up in her chest, and before she could think better of it, she was pulling Noah to his feet and hugging him.
He froze for half a second, surprised. Then his arms came around her and suddenly they were laughing, actually laughing, wrapped in an embrace that lasted several beats longer than professional. When they pulled apart, something had shifted in the air between them. Noah's hands lingered at her waist. Eliza's palms rested against his chest. They were close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, could feel his breath. "We should celebrate," Noah said quietly. "We should," Eliza agreed, not moving away. "Lily's been asking when you're coming back for dinner." "Has she?" "Every day for 2 weeks." A slight smile. "I may have mentioned you a few times in conversation." "Just a few times?" "I might have told her about the Anderson email before I showed you. She said we should have a party with the chocolate sprinkle cake she was promised." Eliza laughed, the sound breaking the tension but not dispelling it entirely. "I did promise her that, didn't I?" "You did, and Lily takes promises very seriously." "Saturday?" The word came out before Eliza could second-guess it. "I could come over Saturday. We could celebrate properly." Something warm and pleased flickered across Noah's face. Saturday would be perfect. They stepped apart, returning to professional distance, but Eliza could still feel the ghost of his hands at her waist, the solid warmth of him. "Focus," she told herself. "This is your business partner. Keep it professional." But professional felt increasingly inadequate to describe what was growing between them. Saturday arrived with unseasonably warm weather, as if the universe approved of celebrations. Eliza showed up at Noah's apartment carrying a bakery box containing the promised chocolate cake with rainbow sprinkles and a bottle of sparkling cider because she'd learned her lesson about alcohol. Lily answered the door, bouncing with barely contained energy. "You came and you brought cake. Daddy said you might forget, but I knew you wouldn't because you promised, and promises are important." "Very important," Eliza agreed, handing over the box. "Think this meets your specifications?" Lily opened it carefully, gasped dramatically. "It's perfect. It has sprinkles and chocolate frosting, and it's huge. This is the best celebration cake ever." Noah appeared from the kitchen, wearing an apron that said "Grill Sergeant" and wielding a spatula. "I hope you're hungry. Lily insisted we needed a full feast to properly celebrate." The apartment smelled incredible. Garlic, herbs, something tomato-based that made Eliza's mouth water. The table had been set with what was clearly Lily's finest work: slightly crooked placemats, mismatched napkins, and a centerpiece made from construction paper flowers. "This is amazing," Eliza said, and meant it. "Lily did most of the decorating," Noah said proudly. "I handled the actual food so we don't all get food poisoning. Daddy's being modest. I helped cook too. I stirred the sauce, and I didn't spill anything this time." They ate pasta with homemade marinara, garlic bread that was more butter than bread, and a salad that Lily picked through suspiciously. The conversation flowed easily, Lily chattering about school, Noah asking about Eliza's thoughts on their next project, Eliza finding herself genuinely invested in the saga of Tyler and the stolen erasers. It felt like family dinner, not the stilted, formal affairs Eliza remembered from her childhood, where conversation topics were vetted and table manners were more important than actual connection, but the warm, chaotic, real kind of family dinner she'd seen in movies and assumed was fiction. After dinner, they moved to the couch with cake and sparkling cider. Lily insisted on a toast. "To Daddy and Ms. Mercer's company," she announced, raising her plastic cup. "May it be the best company in the whole world. And also, can we get an office dog? Because offices with dogs are scientifically proven to be happier." "Scientifically proven?" Noah asked, eyebrows raised. "I read it on the internet, so it's probably true." Eliza caught Noah's eye and saw her own amusement reflected there. "We'll take it under advisement," she said solemnly. "That means maybe," Lily translated, then sighed. Adults always say "we'll see" or "under advisement" when they mean probably not, but we don't want to disappoint you right now. "You're too smart for 8, Noah said, ruffling her hair. "Almost 9. My birthday's in 6 weeks and I want a soccer ball and art supplies and maybe a hamster, but I know that's pushing it, so I'll settle for the soccer ball." As the evening wore on, Lily's energy finally flagged. She curled against Noah's side, fighting sleep with the determination of a child who didn't want to miss anything important. Eliza watched them. The easy affection, The way Noah adjusted his position to make her more comfortable, the unconscious trust in Lily's complete relaxation. This was what love looked like, she realized. Not the dramatic declarations or grand gestures, but this quiet, steady devotion, showing up every day, making pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, being present for the small moments that made up a life. "Someone's getting sleepy," Noah murmured, glancing down at his daughter. "I'm not tired," Lily mumbled, proving her point by yawning hugely. "Course not, but maybe we should get you to bed anyway, just to rest your eyes." "Will Ms. Mercer be here when I wake up?" The question caught Eliza off guard. She looked at Noah, uncertain how to answer. "Ms. Mercer has her own home to get back to," Noah said gently, "but she'll come visit again soon." "Promise?" Lily's eyes opened, focusing on Eliza with that intense childhood need for certainty. "I promise," Eliza said, and felt the weight of those words settle into something binding. Noah carried Lily to her room, and Eliza could hear the low murmur of their bedtime routine. A story, some back and forth about brushing teeth, the kind of ordinary parent-child negotiation that was probably happening in homes across the city. She stood, intending to start cleaning up, but found herself drawn instead to the photos on the walls. Lily, at various ages, always grinning. Noah looking younger, less worn, often laughing at something off camera. And in a few older photos, a woman, petite, blonde, beautiful in a sharp-edged way, who must have been Lily's mother. "That's Rebecca," Noah's voice came from behind her. "Lily's mom." Eliza turned. "I wasn't snooping, It's fine. You were bound to notice eventually." He moved to stand beside her, looking at the photos with an expression she couldn't quite read. She left when Lily was 4, decided motherhood and marriage weren't what she wanted after all. She sends birthday cards and calls on Christmas, but mostly she's building her career in California. "I'm sorry, that must have been devastating." Noah shrugged, but the gesture wasn't as casual as he probably intended. "It was rough. I was angry for a long time, at her for leaving, at myself for not seeing it coming, at the whole situation. But therapy helped. And honestly, I'd rather Lily grow up with one parent who wants to be here than 2 parents where one is counting down the days until escape." The raw honesty made Eliza's chest ache. "You're a really good dad, Noah." "I try. Some days I'm better at it than others." He turned away from the photos, meeting her eyes. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you really start this company with me? The truth, not the business justification." Eliza took a breath, weighing how honest to be, then decided that Noah deserved the truth. "Because that morning after you found me, sitting in your kitchen, eating pancakes with Lily, I felt more human than I had in 15 years. You didn't know me, had no reason to help me, and you did it anyway. No agenda, no angle, just basic human kindness. And I realized that was what I'd been missing, not just in my personal life, but in everything. I'd built this career around being ruthless and efficient, and it made me successful and miserable." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "I wanted to build something different, with someone who understood that success without humanity is just another kind of failure. Someone who makes pancakes into shapes because it matters to his daughter. Someone who sees people as people, not assets or obstacles." She met his eyes. "I wanted to build it with you because you reminded me of who I wanted to be, instead of who I'd become." The silence that followed was charged, heavy with things unsaid. Noah took a step closer, close enough that Eliza could see the way his pulse jumped in his throat. "Eliza," whatever he was about to say was interrupted by Lily's voice from her bedroom. "Daddy, I can't find Mr. Whiskers." Noah closed his eyes briefly, a rueful smile crossing his face. "Mr. Whiskers is her stuffed cat. She can't sleep without him." He squeezed Eliza's hand, when had he taken her hand, and stepped back. "Don't leave yet? Please, I'll be right back." "I'll be here," she said. He disappeared down the hallway, and Eliza heard the sound of a bedroom being systematically searched, Lily providing increasingly dramatic commentary about Mr. Whiskers' probable whereabouts. Eliza moved to the kitchen and started cleaning up, needing something to do with her hands, with the energy that had nowhere to go. She was loading the dishwasher when Noah returned, Mr. Whiskers apparently located and crisis averted. You didn't have to do that, he said, watching her rinse plates. I wanted to help. It's the least I can do after you cooked. They worked together in comfortable silence, falling into an easy rhythm. Noah washing, Eliza drying, both of them hyper-aware of every accidental brush of hands, every moment of proximity. The kitchen was small enough that they kept bumping into each other, kept finding excuses to get closer. When the last dish was put away, they stood facing each other in the narrow space between counter and table, and Eliza knew they'd reached a decision point. She could leave now, maintain professional boundaries, keep things safe and uncomplicated. Or she could stay, acknowledge what was building between them, risk everything they'd started to build together. I should go, she heard herself say, even as every cell in her body screamed the opposite. You should, Noah agreed, not moving. Neither of them moved. Noah, I know, this is complicated. You're my business partner. We're building something important together. Mixing personal and professional is a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible, Eliza agreed. I have a daughter to think about. Can't afford to make impulsive decisions based on feelings. Very responsible. And we've only been working together 3 weeks. Way too soon to even consider. Eliza kissed him. She didn't plan it, didn't think about consequences or complications or how this would change everything. She just stepped forward and kissed him, and Noah's surprise lasted approximately half a second before he was kissing her back. His hands came up to frame her face, gentle and sure, and Eliza melted into him, into the rightness of it, despite every logical reason it was wrong. He tasted like chocolate cake and possibilities, and when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Eliza felt like she'd been holding her breath for years and finally remembered how to exhale. That was, Noah started. A mistake, Eliza finished, even though it felt like the opposite of a mistake. I shouldn't have, Eliza. He kept his hands on her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. Do you regret it? Did she? Every rational part of her brain screamed that she should. They were business partners. They had a company to build. Noah had a daughter who was already getting attached. There were 1,000 ways this could go wrong and destroy everything they'd worked for. But when she looked at Noah, at his steady gaze, his gentle hands, the way he was looking at her like she was something precious, regret felt impossible. No, she admitted quietly. I don't regret it. Me neither. His thumb traced her cheekbone. But you're right that we need to be smart about this. Lily's been hurt before. I can't let her get attached to someone who might not stay. The words stung, but Eliza understood them. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now, but we don't know what this is yet. What it could be. He stepped back, creating space that felt like miles. I think we need to figure ourselves out before we involve Lily. She already loves you, Eliza. If this doesn't work, it will work. The certainty in her voice surprised even her. Noah smiled sadly. You can't know that. 3 weeks ago, you were my boss. 2 weeks ago, you became my business partner. Now you're what? We don't even have words for what this is. He was right. He was being sensible and cautious and putting his daughter first, all of which were admirable qualities that made Eliza want to kiss him again. So what do we do? She asked. We take it slow. We keep things professional at work. We figure out if this is real or just adrenaline from starting a company together. His expression softened. And we don't tell Lily anything until we're sure. Can you live with that? It wasn't what Eliza wanted. She wanted to dive in head first, consequences be damned. But she'd spent enough years being reckless with her own life. She wouldn't be reckless with his daughter's heart. Okay, slow and professional. I can do that. Good. But he didn't look happy about it, which made her feel slightly better. This time when Eliza moved to leave, Noah let her go, though his eyes followed her to the door. Thank you for celebrating with us, he said formally, and the return to politeness felt like a physical wound. Thank you for dinner. Tell Lily the cake was perfect. I will. Eliza stepped into the hallway, then turned back one more time. Noah, for what it's worth, I think this is real. Whatever this is, I think it's real. His expression cracked, warmth flooding through. Me too. That's what scares me. The apartment door closed between them, and Eliza stood in the hallway feeling like she'd just stepped off a cliff with no idea where she'd land. Her phone buzzed with a text as she waited for the elevator. Noah, get home safe. See you Monday. She typed back, see you Monday, partner. Then added, this doesn't change anything at work. I promise. His response came quickly. Everything's changed, but we'll figure it out. The elevator arrived and Eliza rode down feeling simultaneously elated and terrified. She'd kissed Noah Carter, her business partner, the single father who'd saved her life and made her want to be better. And he'd kissed her back. Monday was going to be interesting. Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a freight train. Eliza woke at dawn after a restless night filled with dreams of Noah's hands on her face and the terrible certainty that she'd complicated everything beyond repair. She dressed with extra care, professional but not trying too hard, approachable but not casual. Then changed 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a blazer that split the difference. The office felt different when she arrived. Same exposed brick, same huge windows flooding the space with autumn light, same desk where she'd worked for the past 3 weeks. But everything had shifted slightly off axis, like looking at a familiar painting and noticing details you'd somehow missed before. Noah was already there, bent over his laptop with the intense focus he brought to morning work. He looked up when she entered, and for a moment their eyes met with the weight of Saturday night hanging between them. Morning, he said, his voice carefully neutral. Morning. Eliza set down her bag, hyper-aware of every movement. You're in early. Couldn't sleep, figured I might as well be productive. He gestured to his screen. I've been working on the proposal for the Anderson expansion. Want to take a look? Just like that, they were back to business, professional, appropriate, exactly what they'd agreed to. It was excruciating. They spent the morning reviewing the proposal, heads bent over Noah's laptop, occasionally brushing hands when reaching for the same document. Each accidental touch sent electricity through Eliza's nervous system, but they both pretended not to notice. Professional. They were being professional. By lunch, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. I'm going to grab something to eat, Eliza announced, needing air, needing space from the careful politeness that felt like slowly suffocating. Want anything? I'm good. Brought leftovers from Saturday. Noah didn't look up from his screen, but his jaw was tight. Eliza fled to the Thai place down the block and sat at a corner table, staring at pad Thai she had no appetite for. This was unsustainable. They couldn't work together like this, walking on eggshells, pretending Saturday night hadn't happened. They'd built something good, both the business and whatever was growing between them personally, and the forced distance was poisoning both. Her phone buzzed. A text from Noah. This is stupid. She typed back, what is? Us pretending we're fine. We're not fine. I'm not fine. Eliza's heart rate kicked up. What do you want to do about it? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I don't know, but this isn't working. She paid for her untouched lunch and practically ran back to the office. Noah was standing by the window when she burst through the door, his back to her, shoulders tense. We need to talk, she said. Yeah. He turned to face her. We really do. They sat at the small conference table they'd bought secondhand, facing each other across scarred wood that had probably witnessed 100 difficult conversations before theirs. I can't work with you like this, Noah said quietly, walking on eggshells, measuring every word, pretending I don't want... He stopped, running a hand through his hair. This is exactly what I was afraid of, that we'd mess up the professional relationship by crossing lines. We haven't messed anything up, Eliza insisted. The work is still good. We're still good at this. The work is fine, but we're lying to ourselves if we think nothing's changed. His brown eyes met hers, honest and vulnerable. I can't stop thinking about Saturday, about kissing you, about wanting to do it again. Eliza's breath caught. Noah, let me finish, please. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. I meant what I said about taking things slow, about protecting Lily, but I also think I was using that as an excuse to protect myself. I've been alone for 4 years, focused entirely on being a good dad and keeping my head down at work. The idea of opening myself up to someone again, of risking that kind of hurt, it's terrifying. I'm terrified too, Eliza admitted. I don't know how to do this, any of this. Relationships were never my strong suit. I poured everything into my career because that felt safer than trusting someone with the messy, imperfect parts of myself. You're not imperfect. You're human. Noah reached across the table, palm up, an invitation. And I don't want to pretend anymore that I don't care about you, not just as a business partner. Eliza placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth, the calluses from years of typing, the steady strength. So what do we do? We can't tell Lily until we're sure, but we can't work together pretending there's nothing between us. We take it one day at a time. We keep building the business because we're genuinely good at that. And after work, when it's just us, we see where this goes, honestly. No games, no pretending. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Think you can handle that? I can try. That's all I'm asking. The agreement settled between them like a bridge being built across uncertain water. Not perfect, not without risk, but honest and real in a way Eliza hadn't experienced before. Maya chose that moment to burst through the office door, arms loaded with mail and coffee, chattering about a potential client lead she'd found through Instagram. The spell broke, hands separating, professional distance reasserting itself. But something had shifted. The tension was gone, replaced by an understanding that they were navigating this together. The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. Days were for work, focused, productive, building the business with the same synergy that had felt effortless from the start. Evenings were something else entirely. They'd grab dinner after work, usually at small restaurants where nobody knew them. They'd talk for hours, about everything and nothing, trading stories from their vastly different childhoods. Noah described growing up in the Midwest, all Friday night football and county fairs, and the kind of small-town simplicity Eliza had only seen in movies. Eliza painted pictures of Manhattan private schools and country club summers, and parents who measured love in achievement points. No wonder you're so driven, Noah said one evening over Vietnamese food. You were raised to believe your worth was directly tied to your accomplishments. Weren't you? Not even a little. My parents cared more about whether I was kind than whether I was successful. He smiled at the memory. My dad was a high school English teacher. My mom ran the local library. They weren't ambitious in the traditional sense, but they were happy. Really, genuinely happy. That sounds nice, Eliza said, trying to imagine that kind of contentment and failing. It was. Until the accident. The words dropped like stones. Eliza set down her chopsticks. What accident? Noah's expression went distant. Car crash when I was in college. Drunk driver ran a red light. They both died on impact. He said it matter-of-factly, but his hands trembled slightly. That's actually how I ended up in New York. Couldn't stay in that town surrounded by memories, so I ran as far as I could. Noah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Why would you? I don't talk about it much. Lily knows she had grandparents who loved her even though they never met her, but the details, those are for when she's older. He met Eliza's eyes. I'm telling you because I want you to understand why I'm so protective of the family I have left. Lily is everything to me. If I let you into our lives and it doesn't work out, I understand. I do. Eliza reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. I'm not going to hurt her, or you, not if I can help it. People always say that. Then life happens. I'm not your ex-wife, Noah. I'm not going to wake up one day and decide this isn't what I want. How can you be sure? Because I've spent my entire life chasing things I thought would make me happy, and I was miserable. Successful and miserable. Then I met you and Lily, and suddenly I understood what I'd been missing. Connection. Purpose beyond a paycheck. Someone who sees me as a person instead of an asset or threat. She squeezed his hand. I can't promise I'll be perfect at this. I'll probably screw up 100 different ways, but I can promise I'm all in for however long you'll have me. Noah's expression cracked, vulnerability flooding through. I'm falling for you. Have been since that first morning when you looked so lost in my kitchen and Lily made you pancakes. I'm falling hard, and it's terrifying.
Join the club, Eliza said softly. I'm absolutely terrified, but I'm also happier than I've been in years, so maybe terrified isn't so bad if it means feeling alive again. He kissed her then, right there in the restaurant with curious diners pretending not to watch. It was softer than Saturday's kiss, slower, weighted with promise instead of desperation. When they finally pulled apart, Noah rested his forehead against hers. Lily has a school performance next Friday. International Children's Festival thing. Singing, costumes, the whole production. Would you want to come? You're inviting me to meet your daughter officially? As your... what are we calling this? I don't know yet. But she already knows you as my business partner and pancake guest. This would just be expanding the relationship, gradually. See how it feels. Eliza's heart hammered against her ribs. This was real. They were making this real. I'd love to come. Fair warning, it's probably going to be chaotic. Lots of screaming children and proud parents filming on phones. Lily's nervous about her solo. She has a solo? Apparently she has a beautiful voice. Who knew? Pride colored his tone. She's been practicing It's a Small World for weeks. I've heard it so many times I dream about it. Then I absolutely have to be there to witness this historic performance. You're going to regret saying that when you have the song stuck in your head for days. I'll risk it. Friday arrived with unexpected anxiety. Eliza changed outfits 4 times before settling on dark jeans and a soft sweater, appropriate for a school auditorium, but nice enough to show she'd made an effort. She met Noah outside the elementary school, where parents were already flooding through the doors with cameras and flowers and the slightly manic energy of people attending children's performances. You made it, Noah said, relief evident in his voice. Of course I made it. I promised, didn't I? They found seats near the middle of the auditorium, close enough to see, but not so close that Lily would get stage fright spotting them. The lights dimmed, and children flooded onto the stage in an explosion of color and enthusiasm that was more chaos than choreography. Then Lily stepped forward for her solo, wearing what appeared to be a costume representing Ghana, maybe? The flag colors suggested West Africa. She looked terrified and brave in equal measure, her small voice starting shaky before strengthening as she remembered the words. Eliza found herself holding her breath, willing this child, Noah's child, who'd given her glitter pictures and declared pancakes could heal battles, to succeed. When Lily hit the final note and the audience erupted in applause, Eliza was clapping harder than anyone, her eyes suspiciously damp. That's my girl, Noah murmured, voice thick with emotion. After the performance, they waited outside the auditorium with the other parents. Lily burst through the doors still in costume, face flushed with excitement, and launched herself at Noah. Did you see? Did you see me? I didn't forget any words, and I didn't fall down, and Mrs. Henderson said I was wonderful. You were more than wonderful. You were spectacular. Noah lifted her easily despite her getting too big for such gestures. I'm so proud of you. Then Lily spotted Eliza and her eyes went wide. Ms. Mercer, you came! You came to see me! I wouldn't have missed it for anything. You were absolutely amazing up there. Did you like my costume? I'm Ghana. That's in Africa. We learned about it and everything. Your costume was perfect, and your solo was beautiful. Lily beamed, then seemed to notice for the first time that her father and Eliza were standing very close together, that Noah's free hand had somehow found its way to Eliza's back. Are you guys on a date? She asked with the blunt curiosity of childhood. Eliza and Noah exchanged glances, having a silent conversation about how much to reveal. We're friends, Noah said carefully. Good friends who are spending time together. But like, special friends? The kind in movies where people hold hands and stuff? Why do you ask? Noah deflected. Because you're smiling at each other the way Sophia's parents smile at each other, and Sophia says that's how you know people are in love. The word hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Eliza froze, waiting to see how Noah would handle this. I really like Miss Mercer, Noah said honestly, setting Lily down but keeping a hand on her shoulder. And I wanted her to come see your amazing performance. Is that okay with you? Lily considered this with the seriousness of a judge deliberating a verdict. Does this mean she'll come over more? For pancakes and stuff? Would you like that? Yeah, Ms. Mercer is nice, and she likes my drawings, and she doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby like some grown-ups do. Lily turned to Eliza. Do you like my daddy? The direct question deserved an honest answer. I do, very much. He's one of the best people I know. And you're not going to leave like my mom did? The question landed like a physical blow. Eliza knelt down to Lily's level, meeting those earnest brown eyes that saw too much. I can't promise that nothing will ever change, because that's not how life works. But I can promise that I care about you and your dad a lot. And I'm not planning on going anywhere, okay? Lily studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but if you do leave, you have to give me back my pictures because those are special. Despite everything, Eliza laughed. Deal, but I'm not giving them back because I'm keeping them forever. Forever is a long time. I know, that's why I chose that word. Lily seemed satisfied with this answer. Can we get ice cream to celebrate my performance? Daddy always says celebrations need ice cream. Daddy says a lot of things, Noah muttered, but he was smiling. But yes, we can absolutely get ice cream. If Miss Mercer wants to join us? I would love to join you, Eliza said, standing up and finding Noah's hand with hers. Lily noticed immediately, her face lighting up. You are holding hands. I knew it. They walked to the ice cream shop 3 blocks away, Lily bouncing between them and providing running commentary on the performance, who forgot their lines, who cried backstage, all the drama of elementary school theater. Noah and Eliza's hands stayed linked the entire way, no longer hiding, letting Lily see this new configuration of their relationship. At the ice cream shop, Lily ordered something with gummy bears and chocolate syrup that made Eliza's teeth hurt just looking at it. They sat at a corner table, Lily happily destroying her ice cream while Noah and Eliza shared knowing glances over her head. So, are you guys boyfriend and girlfriend now? Lily asked around a mouthful of gummy bears. We're figuring that out, Noah said. But yes, something like that. Does this mean you're going to kiss? Because in movies, when people become boyfriend and girlfriend, they kiss, and it's kind of gross, but also kind of nice. Lily, Noah started, flustered. We might kiss sometimes, Eliza said calmly, deciding honesty was the best policy. Is that okay with you? Lily wrinkled her nose and thought, I guess, as long as you don't do it at my soccer games, because that would be embarrassing. Tyler's parents kiss at soccer games, and everyone makes fun of him. No soccer game kissing. Got it. Eliza fought to keep a straight face. And you have to still make pancakes, Daddy. Just because you have a girlfriend doesn't mean pancakes stop. Pancakes will never stop. That's a sacred tradition. Good. Lily returned to her ice cream, apparently satisfied that the important matters had been settled. Later, after they dropped Lily back at the apartment with Noah's neighbor, a grandmother type who watched her occasionally, Noah and Eliza walked along the Brooklyn waterfront. Manhattan glittered across the river, all lights and promise. But for once, Eliza wasn't looking at the skyline. She was looking at the man beside her. That went better than expected, Noah said, his hand warm in hers. She's amazing. How she just accepted this, asked her questions, set her boundaries. She's more emotionally intelligent than most adults I know. She's had to grow up fast. After Rebecca left, we did a lot of therapy. She learned to communicate her feelings early because that's how we survived. He stopped walking, turning to face Eliza. But she likes you, really likes you. That's not something she gives easily. The feeling is extremely mutual. Eliza, I need to know, are you sure about this? About us? Because once we're really doing this, once Lily's invested, there's no going back without casualties. I can't let her get hurt again. I'm sure. Eliza stepped closer, framing his face with her hands the way he'd done to her weeks ago. I'm terrified and uncertain about 1,000 things, but I'm absolutely sure about wanting to be here. With you. With Lily. Building this life we're creating. Even though it's messy and complicated and nothing like your old life. Especially because of that. My old life was empty, Noah. Beautiful and successful and completely hollow. This, she gestured between them, toward the apartment where his daughter was probably already asleep, toward the office where they were building something meaningful. This is real. This matters, and I'm not walking away from it. Noah kissed her then, slow and deep, the kind of kiss that tasted like promises and possibilities. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. I know it's fast and probably crazy, and we should wait longer to say things like that, but I love you. Have for weeks now. Eliza's heart felt too big for her chest,
like it might burst from the pressure of everything she was feeling. I love you too. I didn't know I was capable of feeling this way until I met you. So we're doing this. Actually doing this. We're doing this. They stood there on the waterfront as joggers passed and couples strolled and the city hummed around them. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their old lives and decided to build something new. The walk back to Noah's apartment felt different, lighter, like they'd crossed some invisible threshold and everything had shifted into sharper focus. Noah kept stealing glances at her, smiling in a way that made Eliza's stomach flip. "What?" she finally asked. "Nothing. Just, this is nice. Being able to just be with you without all the second guessing and anxiety. It is nice. Surprisingly nice." They reached his building, and Noah pulled out his keys, then hesitated. "Do you want to come up? We could watch a movie, have some wine." He stopped, remembering. "Sorry. Tea. We could have tea." "I don't need alcohol to want to spend time with you, Noah. Tea sounds perfect." His apartment was quiet when they entered, the neighbor having already left. Lily's bedroom door was closed, soft breathing audible from within. Noah checked on her briefly, a father's instinct, then returned to find Eliza curled on his couch, looking more at home than she ever had in her pristine penthouse. "She's out cold," he reported. "Performance exhaustion." She earned it. That was a big night for her. Noah settled beside Eliza, close enough to touch, and for a while they just sat there in comfortable silence. The TV played something neither of them was watching. Outside, Brooklyn continued its Friday night rhythm, music from a nearby bar, laughter from the street, the occasional siren. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Noah admitted quietly, "for this to be too good to be true. What if it's not? What if this is just good and true, and we get to keep it? That would be nice. More than nice." Eliza shifted to face him fully. "Noah, I need you to understand something. My entire life, I've been waiting for permission to be happy, waiting to achieve enough, earn enough, prove enough. It never came. The goalpost kept moving, but with you, I don't need permission. I just am. Happy, I mean. For the first time I can remember, I'm actually happy." His hand found hers, fingers lacing together with practiced ease. "You make me happy too. You and Lily together, you're my whole world. And adding you to it doesn't diminish what I have with her. It expands it, makes it bigger and better and more colorful. Like Lily's drawings on my refrigerator. Exactly like that." They kissed again, softer this time, less urgent but no less meaningful. And when they finally pulled apart, Noah stood and held out his hand. "Stay," he said simply. "Not in the guest room this time. Just stay." Eliza took his hand and let him lead her down the hallway, past Lily's room to his own. It was as modest as the rest of the apartment. A queen bed with a mismatched quilt, a dresser cluttered with change and receipts, a stack of books on the nightstand that suggested he read voraciously before sleep. It was nothing like her minimalist bedroom with its designer furniture and carefully curated art. It was perfect. They fell asleep tangled together, Eliza's head on Noah's chest, his arm secure around her waist, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, Eliza slept through the night without nightmares or anxiety, just the steady rhythm of Noah's heartbeat and the certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the distant sound of Saturday morning cartoons. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was, then memory flooded back and she smiled. Noah's side of the bed was empty, but still warm. Eliza stretched, luxuriating in the feeling of being well-rested and happy, then pulled on one of Noah's shirts. A different one this time, soft flannel instead of the button-down from that first morning, and padded toward the kitchen. The scene that greeted her made her heart squeeze. Noah stood at the stove in pajama pants and a t-shirt, hair sticking up adorably, while Lily sat at the table already dressed and chattering about the pancake shapes she wanted. It was so utterly domestic, so perfectly normal, that Eliza wanted to freeze the moment and live in it forever. "Morning," she said from the doorway. Both Noah and Lily looked up, identical smiles crossing their faces. "You stayed," Lily said happily. "I heard you come in last night and I thought maybe you left, but you didn't." "I didn't." Eliza crossed to the coffee maker, finding mugs exactly where they'd been weeks ago. Some things, thankfully, stayed constant. "That's good, because Daddy's making special celebration pancakes with extra shapes, and we have enough for 3 people now instead of just 2. Noah caught Eliza's eye over Lily's head, his expression warm with affection and something deeper. Love, she realized. He was looking at her with love, open and unguarded, and the sight of it made her breath catch. This was her life now. Pancakes on Saturday mornings, a man who looked at her like she hung the moon, a little girl who'd decided Eliza was worth keeping around. It was nothing like the life she'd planned. It was infinitely better. "So," Noah said, flipping what appeared to be a very ambitious dragon pancake. "What does everyone want to do today?" "Museum," Lily suggested immediately. "The one with the dinosaurs." "We went to the dinosaur museum last weekend," Noah reminded her gently. "But there are so many dinosaurs, we didn't see them all." Eliza found herself laughing, utterly charmed by this child's enthusiasm. "I haven't been to the Natural History Museum in years. I'd love to go see dinosaurs." Lily's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? You want to come?" "If you'll have me as a tour guide trainee, I'm probably rusty on my dinosaur facts." "I can teach you everything. I know all about T-Rex and Triceratops and Stegosaurus and—" As Lily launched into an enthusiastic lecture on prehistoric life, Noah caught Eliza's hand and squeezed it gently. "Thank you," he mouthed. Eliza squeezed back. "Thank you," she mouthed in return. Because really, when it came down to it, gratitude ran both ways. Noah had given her a second chance at life when she'd been at her lowest. But she'd given him something too, a partner, an equal, someone who saw him and valued him and wanted to build a future together. They'd saved each other, really, and now they were building something neither had dared to dream of when they'd started this journey. A home, a family, a love that was messy and imperfect and absolutely real. The pancakes were ready, dragon, butterfly, and what might have been meant as a brontosaurus but looked more like an enthusiastic blob. They ate together at the small table, Lily regaling them with facts about dinosaur diets while syrup dripped everywhere and nobody cared. This was happiness, Eliza thought. Not the polished, curated version she'd once pursued, but the chaotic, sticky-fingered real version. The kind that came from connection instead of achievement, from love instead of success. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. The months that followed fell into a rhythm that felt both impossibly new and comfortably familiar. Eliza found herself splitting time between her penthouse and Noah's Brooklyn apartment, though increasingly she spent more nights in his modest space than her own expensive one. The penthouse began to feel like a museum she visited occasionally, while Noah's apartment, with its mismatched furniture and Lily's artwork covering every surface, felt like home. The business thrived in ways that surprised even Eliza's optimistic projections. The Anderson Group expanded their contract twice, then referred 3 other major clients. By December, Mercer Carter Editorial Services had a waiting list and enough steady income that they'd hired 2 additional editors and moved into a larger office space in the same building. "We should celebrate," Noah said one evening as they reviewed the year-end financials. 6 months ago, we were both unemployed and terrified. Now look at us. Eliza studied the spreadsheet with satisfaction. They'd more than doubled their initial revenue projections, built a reputation for quality that had competitors calling to ask about their process, and managed to maintain the kind of work-life balance that had seemed impossible in her old life. "We're actually doing this," she said, still marveling at it. "Building something sustainable and ethical and successful." "Told you it could work." Noah closed his laptop, stretching. "Maya suggested we throw a holiday party. Invite clients, collaborators, make it a networking thing, but also actually fun." "That's a good idea. We could host it at my penthouse. It's certainly big enough, and I never use the space anyway." "You sure? That's a lot of people trampling through your sanctuary." Eliza looked around their office, paper scattered across desks, coffee mugs forgotten in the afternoon rush, Maya's collection of succulents slowly taking over the windowsill. It was productive chaos, the kind that came from people actually working instead of performing work. "Honestly, I've been thinking about selling the penthouse.
It doesn't feel like mine anymore, if it ever really did. Noah's eyebrows rose. That's a big decision. I know, but I'm never there. All my important stuff is already at your place. Toothbrush, clothes, that ridiculous collection of Lily's artwork I can't bear to throw away. The penthouse is just expensive real estate I'm holding on to because I thought I was supposed to want it. Where would you live? The question hung between them, weighted with implications neither had fully addressed. They'd been together for months now, spending nearly every night in the same bed, navigating parenting decisions with Lily as a team. But they hadn't officially discussed the next step, the commitment that would make their arrangement permanent rather than provisional. I was thinking, Eliza said carefully, that maybe we could look for a place together, something bigger than your current apartment, with room for all of us. A real home. Noah's expression went soft, vulnerable. You want to move in together? Officially? I'm already basically living with you. This would just make it official and fair. We'd both be on the lease, both contributing equally. A fresh start for all three of us. Lily would lose her mind with excitement. She's been asking when you're going to stay forever instead of just having sleepovers. What about you? Eliza pressed. What do you want? Noah stood, crossing to where she sat, and pulled her to her feet. His hands framed her face with that familiar gentleness that still made her heart race. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're there. I want to build a life with you, not just a business, but an actual life. I want Lily to grow up seeing what a healthy, equal partnership looks like. I want all of it, Eliza, with you. She kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it, love and gratitude and relief that they wanted the same things. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, she rested her forehead against his. Let's do it then. Let's find a home. They started house hunting the following weekend, Lily in tow providing enthusiastic commentary on every property. The first few places were disasters, too small, too expensive, weird layouts that made no sense. But the fourth place, a 3-bedroom brownstone apartment in Park Slope with original hardwood floors and enough light to make even winter mornings feel bright, felt right immediately. This could be my room, Lily announced, spinning in the space that would be hers. It's bigger than my room now, and it has a window seat, and I could put all my drawings up and have space for a real desk. Eliza and Noah stood in the doorway watching her, sharing a look that communicated everything without words. This was it. This was their future. The kitchen is amazing, Eliza said, wandering through the space. Actual counter space. A dishwasher that's not from 1987. Room for more than 2 people to cook at once. You planning to start cooking? Noah teased, following her. I'm planning to learn. Lily deserves more than one parent who can make edible food. I'll believe it when I see it. Your idea of cooking is currently reheating takeout. Then you'll teach me. Add it to the list of things you've already taught me. How to relax, how to be present, how to build something that matters. Noah pulled her close, kissing her temple. You taught yourself those things. I just reminded you they were possible. The master bedroom was at the back of the apartment, larger than Noah's current bedroom, but smaller than Eliza's penthouse suite. It had exposed brick on one wall and windows overlooking a shared garden. I love it, Eliza said simply. It feels like us. Not too polished, not too rough, just right. They signed the lease 2 days before Christmas, moved in over New Year's weekend with help from Maya and a couple of the freelancers they'd hired. Lily supervised the arrangement of her new room with the seriousness of an interior designer, insisting that her drawings be hung in a specific pattern that made sense only to her. The holiday party happened in early January, hosted in their new space instead of the penthouse Eliza had already listed with a realtor. Their home filled with clients, collaborators, friends they'd made in the neighborhood. Lily wore a fancy dress and appointed herself official greeter, shaking hands with corporate executives and explaining her artwork to anyone who'd listen. Your daughter is incredible, Jennifer Anderson told Noah, watching Lily charm a group of marketing directors with her enthusiastic description of why dinosaurs were superior to all other animals. She really is, Noah agreed, pride evident in every syllable. And this partnership, Jennifer gestured to encompass both the business and the obvious personal relationship between Noah and Eliza. It's working remarkably well. You two have built something special. We've been lucky, Eliza said, appearing at Noah's side with fresh drinks. It's not luck. It's talent and hard work and genuinely caring about quality. That's rare in this industry. Jennifer accepted the drink with a smile. I'm glad we followed you when you left the agency. Best decision we made last year. After the guests had left and Lily had finally crashed from sugar and excitement, Eliza and Noah collapsed on their new couch, purchased together, argued over together, assembled together with only minor injuries and maximum swearing. That was a success, Noah said, pulling Eliza against his side. Several people asked about taking on new projects in the spring. We might need to hire another editor. Later. Right now, I just want to enjoy this. He gestured around their living room, still slightly messy from the party, but unmistakably theirs. Photos of the three of them were scattered across surfaces. Lily's school performance, their first official family photo, candid shots from weekends at the park. Can I tell you something? Eliza said quietly. Anything. A year ago, I was lying in your guest room with the worst hangover of my life, wearing a stranger's shirt, convinced my life was over. And now, her voice caught. Now I have everything I never knew I needed. A partner who sees me, a kid who makes me want to be better, work that actually matters, a home that feels lived in instead of staged. You built that, Eliza. You took rock bottom and turned it into something beautiful. We built it together. I couldn't have done any of this alone. Noah kissed the top of her head. Good thing you don't have to. Winter gave way to spring, and with it came new challenges and joys. Lily's 9th birthday arrived with the requested soccer ball, art supplies, and after weeks of negotiation, a small hamster named Princess Sparkles, who lived in an elaborate cage in Lily's room and was treated like royalty. I can't believe we're hamster parents now, Eliza said, watching Lily coo over the tiny creature. We're a lot of things now, Noah pointed out. Business partners, romantic partners, co-parents, hamster caretakers. It's a full resume. Missing one thing, though. What's that? Eliza had been thinking about it for weeks, carrying the weight of the decision alone because she wanted to be absolutely sure before she said anything. But watching Noah help Lily set up Princess Sparkle's exercise wheel, seeing the casual domesticity of their life together, she knew with bone-deep certainty. I want to make this permanent, she said, not just the living arrangement or the business partnership. All of it. Us. Noah looked up from the hamster cage, his expression shifting from confused to understanding to something that looked like hope mixed with fear. Eliza, are you... I'm not proposing. Not yet. But I'm telling you that I want that future. Marriage forever. The whole commitment. And I wanted you to know I was thinking about it. In case you were thinking about it too. He stood slowly, crossing to where she leaned against the doorframe. I've been thinking about it since approximately our 3rd date. I have a ring. Have for 2 months. I've been trying to figure out the right moment. Eliza's breath caught. You have a ring? In my sock drawer, hidden under the athletic socks I never wear. Very original hiding place. He smiled, nervous and excited at once. I wanted to wait until everything felt stable, until I was sure you wouldn't feel pressured or like this was moving too fast. Noah Carter, nothing about us has been slow or conventional. We started a business together before we even dated. I moved in before we'd been together 6 months. We're raising your daughter as a team. Why would we suddenly become traditional now? Fair point. He glanced toward Lily, still absorbed in hamster setup. Think she'd be okay with it? Let's ask her. They sat on Lily's bed, waiting until she noticed they wanted her attention. When she finally looked up from adjusting Princess Sparkles' water bottle, her expression was curious. What's wrong? Did I do something bad? Nothing's wrong, sweetheart, Noah assured her. We wanted to talk to you about something important. About our family. Lily's eyes widened. Are you having a baby? Because Sophia's mom just had a baby, and Sophia says it's very loud and smelly, but also kind of cute. No, baby, Eliza said quickly. Not yet, anyway. That's a different conversation. But we wanted to ask how you'd feel if your dad and I got married. The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Lily looked between them, processing, her face going through several expressions before settling on something cautiously hopeful. Like married, with a wedding and a dress and everything? Probably a small wedding, Noah said. Nothing too crazy.
But yes, officially married, which would make Eliza legally part of our family. Would she be my mom? The question hit Eliza like a freight train. They danced around this topic carefully, Noah introducing her as my partner, and Lily calling her by first name because it felt safer than labels that might scare everyone involved. I would never try to replace your mom, Eliza said carefully. She's your mom, and she always will be. But I would be your stepmom, which is different but also important. I'd be the person who's here every day, who helps take care of you, who loves you like you're my own. Do you love me like I'm your own? Yes. So much it scares me sometimes. Lily considered this with her characteristic seriousness. Would I have to call you Mom? Only if you wanted to. You could keep calling me Eliza, or we could figure out something else that feels right to you. And you promise you won't leave? Because my real mom left and it made Daddy really sad and I don't want him to be that sad again. Eliza felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. I promise I'm not leaving. I'm here for as long as you and your dad will have me. That's what marriage means, choosing to stay even when things get hard. Lily nodded slowly, then turned to Noah. Do you want to marry her, Daddy? More than anything. And you love her? With my whole heart. Okay then. Lily's face broke into a smile. You should definitely get married, but I get to help pick the dress, and there has to be cake. And can Princess Sparkles be in the wedding? Noah laughed, relief and joy flooding his features. We'll see about the hamster, but yes to everything else. Lily launched herself at both of them, wrapping her arms around their necks in an awkward three-way hug that was the most perfect thing Eliza had ever experienced. I love you, Lily whispered against Eliza's shoulder. Both of you. Our family. I love you too, sweetheart, Eliza managed around the lump in her throat. So much. They stayed like that for a long moment, tangled together on Lily's bed, while Princess Sparkles squeaked in the background. And Eliza thought about how far she'd come from that morning in Noah's guest room. How lost she'd been. How convinced that losing her job meant losing everything. She'd been so wrong. Losing that job had been the beginning of finding everything that actually mattered. Noah proposed officially 2 weeks later at the end of a regular Saturday pancake breakfast. He got down on one knee right there in their kitchen while Lily bounced excitedly and filmed on a tablet, and Eliza said yes before he'd even finished the question. The ring was simple, a sapphire because Noah remembered her mentioning once that she'd always preferred colored stones to diamonds. It fit perfectly, like it had been made for her hand, and Eliza couldn't stop looking at it, marveling that this was real, this was her life. They planned the wedding for June, keeping it small like they'd promised. Close friends, essential family, the people who'd supported them through the chaos of the past year. Eliza's mother was skeptical at first, unable to understand why her daughter would marry a single father with modest means when she could do better. But then she met Noah and Lily, saw the way they looked at each other, and something in her expression softened. He's kind to you, her mother said quietly at the rehearsal dinner. I can see he's genuinely kind. He is. He's the kindest person I know. And you're happy? Truly happy? Eliza looked across the room to where Noah was laughing at something Lily had said, his whole face lit with joy. Happier than I knew was possible. Her mother nodded, accepting if not fully understanding. Then I'm happy for you, dear, even if this isn't the life I imagined for you. It's better than what you imagined. It's better than what I imagined. The wedding day arrived with perfect June weather, clear skies, gentle breeze, the kind of day that felt custom-ordered for celebrations. They'd chosen a small garden venue in Brooklyn, intimate and unpretentious, with string lights and wildflowers and none of the formal stuffiness Eliza had always associated with weddings. Lily was flower girl, taking her duties with utmost seriousness. She'd chosen her own dress, purple with sparkles, and had practiced her petal-scattering walk for weeks. As she preceded Eliza down the makeshift aisle, scattering rose petals with theatrical flair, Eliza heard Noah laugh with pure delight. Then their eyes met across the garden, and everything else faded into background noise. He looked perfect in his suit, still slightly rumpled because that was just who Noah was, but radiating happiness in a way that made Eliza's heart swell. She walked toward him without hesitation, without doubt, knowing with absolute certainty that this was right. The ceremony was short, personal, full of laughter and tears in equal measure. They'd written their own vows, and when it was Eliza's turn, she looked into Noah's eyes and spoke from her heart. A year ago, I thought I'd lost everything. My job, my identity, my entire sense of purpose. I was so lost that I ended up passed out in my car outside your building in the rain, at the absolute lowest point of my life. And you, her voice caught. You could have left me there, called someone else to handle it, stayed uninvolved. But you didn't. You carried me inside, made sure I was safe, and showed me what kindness looked like when I'd forgotten. She paused, composing herself. You gave me pancakes and compassion when I needed it most. You offered me partnership when I was convinced I had nothing left to offer. You introduced me to your daughter and trusted me with the most precious thing in your life. You taught me that success without love is just another kind of failure, and that the best things in life are the ones you build with people you love. Tears were streaming down her face now, but she didn't care. So I promised to keep showing up, every single day. I promised to be your partner in everything, in business, in parenting, in building this life we've created. I promised to make time for pancakes and soccer games and all the small moments that make up a real life. I promised to love Lily like she's my own and to love you with everything I have, today and every day after. Noah was crying too, not bothering to hide it, and when he spoke his vows, his voice was thick with emotion. Eliza, I spent 4 years believing I was meant to be alone, that I'd had my chance at love and lost it, and my job was just to be the best father I could be. I'd convinced myself that was enough. And then you walked into my life, literally walked into my kitchen at dawn, looking lost and vulnerable and human in a way I'd never seen at work. And everything changed. He took her hands, holding them gently. You reminded me that I could be more than just Lily's dad, that I could be a partner, a lover, a person with dreams beyond just surviving each day. You saw potential in me that I'd stopped seeing in myself. You offered me not just a business opportunity, but a chance to build something meaningful. And you loved my daughter, not because you had to, but because she's genuinely lovable and you let yourself see it. His thumbs traced circles on her hands. I promise to support your dreams even when they scare you. I promise to share the pancake-making duties and let you hang as many of Lily's drawings as you want. I promise to be your safe place when the world gets overwhelming and to remind you of your strength when you forget. I promise to love you completely, the polished parts and the messy parts, the confident days and the uncertain ones. You're my partner, my love, my home, today and always. When the officiant pronounced them married, their kiss was witnessed by cheers and Lily's enthusiastic "finally" that made everyone laugh through their tears. The reception was exactly what they'd wanted, casual, joyful, full of dancing and laughter and food from their favorite Thai place. Lily gave a speech that was mostly about Princess Sparkles, but ended with, I'm really glad Eliza is my stepmom now because she's nice and she doesn't make me eat vegetables I hate, which got a standing ovation. As the evening wound down and guests started to leave, Eliza found herself standing with Noah and Lily in the garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. This was perfect, she said softly. It really was, Noah agreed, his arm around her waist. Are you happy, Lily? Eliza asked the girl nestled between them. So happy. This was the best wedding ever. Way better than the one in the movie we watched where everyone wore boring colors and nobody smiled. High praise indeed, Noah said, ruffling her hair. They stood there as the light faded, three people who'd found each other through circumstance and choice, who'd built a family from broken pieces and second chances. Maya appeared with her camera, snapping one last photo. Noah and Eliza with their arms around each other, Lily grinning between them, all three backlit by the dying sun. It was the photo that would later sit on their mantle, the one Lily would show to friends when explaining her family, the one that captured the exact moment when their new life together began officially. 6 months later, on a crisp December morning, Eliza stood in their bedroom staring at a pregnancy test with shaking hands. She'd suspected for a week, noticed the signs her body was changing, but seeing the confirmation in stark lines made it real. She was pregnant. She and Noah were going to have a baby. Terror and joy warred in her chest. This wasn't planned. They talked about maybe having kids someday, but someday had felt safely distant. Now someday was approximately 8 months away, and Eliza had no idea if she was ready. "Eliza, you okay in there?" Noah's voice came through the door. "Lily's asking if you want chocolate chip or blueberry pancakes." She opened the door, wordlessly holding out the test. Noah's eyes went wide. "Is that... Are you... I'm pregnant. We're having a baby." For a moment he just stared, processing. Then his face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen, and he swept her into his arms, lifting her off the ground and spinning in a circle. "We're having a baby, Eliza, we're having a baby." His joy was infectious, melting her terror into something that felt like cautious excitement. "Are you happy?" she asked when he finally set her down. "Are you kidding? I'm ecstatic. Terrified, but ecstatic. How are you feeling?" "Scared out of my mind. I don't know how to be a mother, Noah. I barely figured out the stepmom thing." "You're amazing with Lily. You'll be amazing with this baby, too." "That's different. Lily was already 8 when I met her. Practically raised herself with your help. A baby is... She gestured helplessly. "Completely dependent. What if I mess it up?" Noah cupped her face, making her look at him. "You won't mess it up. We'll figure it out together, just like we've figured out everything else. And Eliza, you've already proven you can grow and change and rise to challenges. You went from corporate executive to business owner to stepmom to wife. Adding mother to that list is just the next adventure." "I love you," she said, the words inadequate for everything she felt. "I love you too. Both of you." His hand moved to her still flat stomach. "All 3 of you, counting Lily. Should we tell her? She's going to lose her mind with excitement. Fair warning." They walked to the kitchen together, where Lily was already mixing pancake batter with the confidence of a seasoned chef. "I decided chocolate chip," she announced. "Blueberries are healthy, but chocolate is happiness, and Saturdays are for happiness." "Lil, we have something to tell you," Noah said, pulling out a chair. Lily looked up, immediately suspicious. "Am I in trouble? Because I swear I didn't mean to let Princess Sparkles out yesterday. She's just really good at escaping." "You're not in trouble, but this is big news, so maybe sit down." Lily set down the mixing bowl and climbed into her chair, looking between them with wide eyes. "What's happening? Is someone sick? Are we moving again? Did the business fail?" "Nothing bad," Eliza assured her quickly. "Actually, it's good news. At least we think it's good news. We're having a baby." Silence. Then, "A baby?" Lily shrieked, loud enough to wake the neighbors. "A real baby? I'm going to be a big sister?" "You're going to be a big sister," Noah confirmed, laughing at her reaction. Lily launched herself at both of them, practically vibrating with excitement. "This is the best news ever. Better than Princess Sparkles. Better than my birthday. Better than everything. When? How big is it now? Can I help pick the name? Will it be a boy or girl? Can we decorate the nursery? Do babies like dinosaurs? Because if not, I'll have to teach it." The questions tumbled out faster than they could answer, and Eliza felt her anxiety melting under the warmth of Lily's enthusiasm. "We have plenty of time to figure all that out," Noah said. "The baby won't be here until summer." "That's so far away. How am I supposed to wait that long?" "The same way you waited for your hamster, with patience and lots of planning." Lily's eyes gleamed. "I'm going to make so many drawings for the baby, and I'll teach it everything I know, and I'll be the best big sister ever. Just wait." She dashed off to her room, presumably to start on baby-related artwork, leaving Eliza and Noah alone in the kitchen with abandoned pancake batter. "That went well," Eliza said, slightly dazed. "Told you she'd be excited." Noah pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. "We're really doing this, building a whole life together. From absolutely nothing, from me passed out drunk in my car to..." She gestured around their kitchen at the evidence of their life together. "All of this. Best bad decision you ever made, getting drunk and driving to Brooklyn." "Worst decision that led to the best outcome," Eliza corrected. "I don't recommend the method, but I can't argue with the results." They made pancakes together, chocolate chip as decreed by Lily, and talked about the future. Where they'd put the nursery, how they'd manage work schedules with a newborn, whether they needed to hire additional help at the office. Practical concerns mixed with dreams and fears and excitement. The pregnancy was easier than Eliza expected. Morning sickness was mild, fatigue manageable. She worked through most of it, taking on fewer client meetings in the third trimester, but still involved in the strategic decisions. Noah picked up the slack without complaint, and Maya proved invaluable in managing day-to-day operations. Lily appointed herself official baby preparation coordinator, making lists of necessary items, practicing her gentle voice for when the baby was sleeping, reading every library book about being a big sister. She talked to Eliza's growing belly constantly, telling the baby about dinosaurs and soccer and all the important things it needed to know about the world. "You're going to love it here," Lily said one evening, her head resting against Eliza's stomach. "We have the best pancakes, and Mom—" She paused, testing out the word she'd recently started using for Eliza. "Mom is really smart and nice, and Dad tells the best bedtime stories, and I'll teach you everything. It's going to be great." Eliza's hand rested on Lily's hair, her other hand cradling the bump that held her daughter. They'd found out it was a girl at the anatomy scan, much to Lily's delight. 2 daughters. She was going to have 2 daughters. The thought still seemed impossible. The baby arrived on a sticky July morning after 12 hours of labor that Eliza would later describe as exactly as terrible as everyone warned, but somehow worth it. Noah held her hand through all of it, coaching her breathing, wiping her forehead, telling her she was strong and amazing even when she was cursing him for getting her pregnant in the first place. When they finally placed the baby in her arms, tiny and red-faced and screaming with impressive lung capacity, Eliza felt something click into place in her chest. A final piece of the puzzle she hadn't known was incomplete. "She's perfect," she whispered. "She's beautiful," Noah agreed, his voice thick with emotion. "Just like her mother." They named her Grace Rebecca Carter. Grace for the second chance Eliza had been given, Rebecca for the mother who'd given Noah his first chance at fatherhood, even if she'd ultimately chosen a different path. It felt right, honoring the past while celebrating the future. Lily met her sister 3 hours later, creeping into the hospital room with wide, reverent eyes. "She's so small," Lily breathed. "Can I hold her?" "Of course you can. You're her big sister." They settled Lily in the chair with careful instructions, then placed Grace in her arms. Lily stared down at the baby with an expression of such pure love that both Eliza and Noah reached for tissues simultaneously. "Hi, Grace," Lily whispered. "I'm your sister Lily. I've been waiting to meet you forever. I made you 17 drawings and Dad says that's too many, but I think it's just right because you're very important. I'm going to teach you everything, how to draw, how to play soccer, all about dinosaurs. We're going to be best friends." Grace yawned, tiny fist waving, and Lily giggled. "She's already tired of my talking. Dad says I talk too much sometimes, but I think it's just the right amount." Eliza watched her daughters together. One 9 years old and full of confident enthusiasm, one brand new and already loved beyond measure, and felt her heart expand to accommodate the impossibility of it all. This was her family, chosen and biological, planned and unexpected, perfect in its imperfection. The first few months with a newborn were exactly as exhausting as advertised. Eliza discovered reserves of strength she didn't know she possessed, functioning on 3 hours of broken sleep while managing client needs and learning to breastfeed, and somehow keeping another human alive through sheer determination. Noah was her rock through all of it, taking night shifts when he could, handling Lily's adjustment to not being an only child, keeping the business running when Eliza was too tired to form coherent sentences. Maya stepped up in ways they couldn't have anticipated, essentially running the office for 3 months while they figured out their new normal. "We couldn't do this without you," Eliza told her during a rare office visit, Grace sleeping in a carrier against her chest. "Yes, you could. You'd just be more tired and stressed." Maya smiled, reaching out to touch Grace's tiny hand. "But I'm happy to help. You two gave me my first real job out of college and actually treated me like my ideas mattered. This is me paying it forward. When we're back to full capacity, we're giving you a raise. And a better title. You're way more than a part-time assistant at this point." "I won't argue with that," Maya said cheerfully. By Grace's first birthday, they'd found their rhythm. The business continued to grow, now with 4 full-time employees and a roster of freelancers they called on for specialized projects. They'd been featured in industry publications, won several awards for their work, built a reputation that had competitors asking how they managed to be both successful and ethical in an industry known for burnout and exploitation. The answer, Eliza knew, was simple. They cared about people more than profits. They paid fair wages, respected work-life boundaries, celebrated successes together. They'd built the company they'd both wished they'd worked for, and it turned out other talented people wanted that too. Grace's birthday party was held in their backyard on a perfect August afternoon. Lily had planned most of it, insisting on a butterfly theme because Grace loved the butterfly mobile above her crib. Children ran through the space while adults chatted and ate cake, and Eliza stood with Noah watching the chaos with deep contentment. 3 years, she said softly. 3 years since I woke up in your guest room thinking my life was over. Best worst morning of my life, Noah said, pulling her close. Finding you in that car, worried you might be hypothermic, having no idea that I was carrying my future wife inside. Do you ever miss the simplicity before all this? Not for a second. Simple was lonely. He gestured to their backyard full of people they loved, their daughters laughing together, the life they'd built from scratch. This is complicated and messy and occasionally exhausting, but it's real. It matters. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Eliza leaned into him, watching Lily help Grace toddle around the garden, both girls giggling as butterflies landed on the flowers around them. Her mother was talking to Noah's aunt about something that was making them both laugh. Maya was taking photos for their company Instagram, capturing candid moments of joy. This was success, Eliza thought. Not corner offices or executive titles or six-figure salaries. This, love and laughter, and people who showed up when it mattered. This was everything she'd been searching for without knowing what she actually needed. That night, after the guests had left and both girls were asleep, Eliza and Noah sat on their back porch with glasses of wine, exhausted but happy. Thank you, Eliza said quietly. For what? For saving me. For seeing potential in someone who'd hit rock bottom. For building this life with me. Noah took her hand, lacing their fingers together. You saved yourself, Eliza. I just provided pancakes and a safe place to land. Everything after that, the business, the family, the life we've built, that was all you being brave enough to try something different. We built it together. We did. Best partnership I've ever had. They sat in comfortable silence, the city humming in the distance, crickets chirping in the garden, the monitor on the table transmitting the soft sounds of their daughters sleeping. Eliza thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, driven, accomplished, desperately unhappy without admitting it. She'd lost everything that morning, or so she'd thought. Her career, her identity, her entire sense of purpose. But really, she'd lost nothing that mattered, and found everything that did. The job that defined her had been temporary. The success she'd chased had been hollow. The life she'd built had been beautiful and empty, like a museum exhibit of what success was supposed to look like. This life, messy and imperfect and utterly real. This was what mattered. Noah, who'd rescued her from the rain and showed her what kindness looked like. Lily, who'd declared that pictures could make sad things better and proved it by accepting Eliza into her world. Grace, who existed because Eliza had been brave enough to build a new life instead of clinging to the ruins of her old one. The business they'd created from desperation and hope, now thriving beyond their wildest projections. The home they'd made together, filled with laughter and artwork and love. She'd been so afraid that morning, waking up in a stranger's bed with no memory and no plan, convinced she'd lost everything worth having. But sometimes you had to lose everything to discover what you actually needed. Sometimes hitting bottom was the only way to finally stop falling and start building something real. Sometimes the worst moment of your life was actually the beginning of your best one. Eliza squeezed Noah's hand, feeling the solid warmth of him, the steady presence that had become her anchor. I love you, she said simply. I love you too. Always have. Always will. Inside, Grace made a small sound through the monitor. Eliza started to rise, but Noah gently pulled her back. I'll get her. You stay here. Enjoy the quiet for a minute. He kissed her softly and disappeared inside, and Eliza sat alone in the darkness, listening to her husband soothe their daughter back to sleep, and thought about how far she'd come, From executive to unemployed to business owner. From alone to partnered to married. From childless to stepmom to mother. From lost to found. From empty to full. From surviving to living. The journey had been unexpected, terrifying, utterly transforming, and she wouldn't change a single moment of it, even the worst ones, because they'd led her here, to this life, this love, this home. Noah returned, settling back beside her with a satisfied sigh. Grace is out again. I swear that kid could sleep through an earthquake. Takes after you. I've seen you nap through Lily practicing her recorder. Selective hearing is a crucial parenting skill. They laughed together, easy and comfortable, and Eliza thought, this is it. This is everything. Not perfect, not polished, not what anyone would have predicted, but real and rich and exactly right. She'd lost her job that rainy night 3 years ago, but she'd found a home, and in the end, that made all the difference.